The past few months have given me a lot of time to think about how it feels to be me. At its best, it feels bright and shining, and it's like walking through gold. At its worst, it feels like I'm carrying the world on my shoulders. And I know many people can relate to this feeling of putting your weight in gold. Black dust in orbit crashes down like a parachute. Bricks on my shoulders. This gravity hurts when you know the truth. I'm pulling my weight in gold. Call me anxious, call me broke. I can't live this on my own. I'm pulling my weight in gold. Call me anxious, call me broke. But I can't live this on my own. We dreamt like martyrs. I never thought I was bold enough. You pushed me farther, baby. I'll take the pain for the both of us. I'm pulling my weight in gold. Call me anxious, call me broke, but I can't live this on my own. I'm pulling my weight in gold. Call me anxious, call me broke, but I can't live this on my own. Oh, universe, hold me up. Tried your best, was it ever enough? No, no. When it's already dragging me down, I'm pulling my weight in gold. Call me anxious, call me broke, but I can't live this on my own. I'm pulling my weight, baby. Call me anxious, call me broke, but I can't live this on my own.
Good afternoon from London and welcome to the World Summit on Women and Girls, My Voice, Our Equal Future. I'm Engela de Toy Minshall and today I will be speaking to Mary Eersum about leadership. Mary Eersum is the president of Operation Hope Partnerships in the United States of America. Operation Hope is a financial empowerment program for families, kids, and small businesses, giving them the inspiration and tools to live with dignity and take control of the future. Mary began her career in strategic economic development and poverty alleviation by launching the Los Angeles affiliate of Habitat for Humanity, growing the organization from $35,000 budget to a $3.2 million budget, and constructing 64 homes in partnership with recipient homeowners. Mary developed and launched the Hope Youth programs, expanded the Hope Inside model nationwide, and led the global expansion in South Africa and the Middle East, amongst other things. Mary, welcome.
Be here today.
Welcome, Mary.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all. What a beautiful, beautiful day.
Yes, and I think we are both in blue, which
yes,
is...
we are.
Yes, we are in vibration. It is the color of trust and leadership. John
Yes.
Quincy Adams said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And on a micro level, every mother is the leader of her family and children, having to make decisions about often scarce resources and time. So today, Mary and I will look at how Operation Hope helps people become the leaders in their own lives by looking at 10 of the principles of leadership and the mindset of a leader.
Yeah.
So maybe to start with, leaders are drawn by their vision and they keep the end in sight. What is the vision of Operation Hope?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I truly agree with that, because at the beginning and end of the day, especially in the challenges and the uncertain times we're living in, all leaders must keep their vision forward. And really, that's why we're all here today. I mean, the vision behind this summit and all the powerful action behind the words. With Operation Hope, we've always had a steadfast focus from the second that we were founded after the civil unrest in Los Angeles in 1992, of working to empower individuals with the tools and resources to take control of their financial future. And whether that is a single mother who is raising 4 children, working 3 jobs, and is struggling, we know that we can focus on how we can not only help that one mother, but also set patterns and processes and pathways in place where we can empower millions and millions. And that's what we've set out to do, and that's what we've done. We want to alleviate poverty, period.
So does this guide all your critical decisions then, from that standpoint?
Oh, without a doubt. And we must, keep always that greater vision in place, no matter what challenges we might face on a micro level in individual communities. We keep that vision, whether we're working in a school in Harlem or a school outside of Cape Town. We're in Los Angeles or Atlanta or Chicago or Abu Dhabi. Everything is the same. The vision is the same. We keep driving it forward together.
So can you share a success story of how you offered a hand up instead of a hand out that took someone from despair to thriving?
Sure. I mean, the first thing that we do is, we have as a financial education organization, and that's the tool we promote: financial inclusion, economic equity, and that overall leading to stability in a family's life, in a community, in a state, in a country. Well, there's a reason we're called Operation Hope and not Operation Financial Education, because that is the first step in helping someone uplift themselves and their families into into a place where they feel like they can make that difference in their life. So the first conversation that we ever have with anyone that we're working with, a mother, a father, a child, a young girl, that it's the yes, you can spirit, and that we're here with you every step of the way. And we will.
So
millions.
So that was the next thing I wanted to talk about, was collaboration. So you work with people because leaders collaborate. So how do you work with others? Because obviously this is not something I would imagine you can do on your own if this is worldwide. How do you work with others to share resources and to fill the gaps in your own strengths and that of the organization?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got an email from someone this morning saying, can you, let's talk about your competitors and how you can, from a donor pool and resources, how can you do better? And my answer is, when you're trying to alleviate poverty, there's no competition. Unfortunately, there's enough to go around. And it is working with a combination of strength that comes from partners in the NGO sector, and then partners in the private sector, partners, of course, in the government and municipalities. And what we do as a lead organization, and what I strive to do, is bring all the resources together. We know that, honestly, everything that we need to do to make the change happen is there. You just have to identify all the individuals that you can partner with, the entities, the corporations, and we drive it again towards that central core mission that we have every day.
Right. So you just mentioned someone talking about how do you deal with competition? So that's the other point I want to bring in when it comes to leadership. Great leaders are servant leaders. So it takes personal security to stand in a place of conflict where people differ and to listen respectfully, and then to question yourself and make decisions for the greater good of the business. How do you deal with conflict or conflicts of interest in the organization?
No, for sure. Well, I think listening is always the key, and we read a lot about that, and that is in our brilliant, books written. But it is more than that. It is really trying to put your mind, as much as you may have a disagreement with who you're trying to work with, you try to put yourself in that person's perspective, right? You try to see it from their eyes, even though if they have a philosophical difference, a structural difference, a spiritual difference, you still need to try to see where they are at that moment in time, that they have their goals and objectives. And I think you can have a more clear viewpoint of how you might come together. If I am working with a partner, though, if I'm working with, whether it's a corporation, a government entity, I also know that our mission is strong, and we don't all have to be in sync. We don't all have to get together. We can move forward with strength. So I don't try to change someone's mind if that's what they believe, and that's okay. We're all different.
It's why the world needs more women leaders, because women are great at conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
The world needs at this moment. So the fourth point on leadership: leaders chart their own course. So they're not afraid to stand in the space between their dreams and reality, and they also believe in the power of their dreams and take action to realize their dreams. What inspires you to lead Operation Hope, and can you share a little more about your award-winning Hope Insight 3-part model, please?
Sure. Well, I'm on November 1st, I'll celebrate my 23rd year with Operation Hope.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And in that time, I have seen hands-on, whether I've been, again, in South Africa, whether I've been in New York, whether it's been any one of our 157 locations in the US, that I've seen the impact. I do work, I work a lot during the day, of course, with corporations and others that are partnering with us, but I make sure that I as engaged as I can with those that we are partnering with. And I say those that we are serving are those that we're partnering with. So I have seen it. We are also extremely focused and vigilant about data and analytics. And I know that, I want to make sure that we can empirically validate the efficacy of our work every day. And that's important. That gets me out of bed because I want to see both the qualitative and the quantitative data. And
you do longitudinal evaluation.
Yes, we actually have what's called the Hope Research and Impact Institute internally, a handful of economists and data scientists that I always say they eat data for breakfast all day long. They look at what is not just the outputs and number of people we're serving, but how are we changing lives? We providing the Hope Inside program, which again, in 3 parts, we focus on programs that can help individuals with core financial education tools, helping them, especially in the US, raise your credit score, how that can help you get a job, how that can help you buy a home, how that can help you start a business. Yeah, we work with young people on helping create a career pathway, Hope Inside Youth, helping them learn the basics of what we call the language of money. And then, and this is a huge part of our work right now, we have individuals who have, it's a division that started after 9/11 to help individuals who are surviving a tragedy and a disaster survive, rebuild, and thrive. And we have been doing it for natural disasters for 16 years and now, or almost 20 years, and now we have a huge COVID-19 recovery strategy in play.
Right.
Families and businesses. Yeah.
I've personally been witness to the floods in the south of France.
Yeah.
Devastated homes, devastated people's livelihoods. So it's so important, the work that you're doing with Operation Hope. So leaders reinvent themselves. They're very demanding of themselves, but they are also willing to invest in training and coaching and have the courage and determination to create a new reality. And I'm bringing this back again to where we started, which is the individual. So with our broadcast today, to talk about what can the individual do. So how can someone reinvent themselves with your programs?
Sure. Yeah. The first thing that with those that participate in our programs can do is really take a step back and get out of what we'd say, get out of the noise in their life. Those that are, struggling in some way, shape, or form, whether it's after a flood, whether it's after an illness, whether it's after getting a pile of bills in the mail that they can't handle. So they take a step back and we help them do that. There's technical and physical poverty and there's spiritual poverty. So we help individuals really regain a confidence and a self of self. And then
you help restore dignity from what I can see in the program.
Well, it's all about dignity. It's 100%. We can't say financial literacy or financial empowerment. It is living life with dignity in any way that someone chooses what that is. We don't tell anyone what dignity is. We enable them and empower them to think for themselves.
Yes, because it's different things to different people.
That's
Thank you
right.
to the people who are supporting us during this fireside chat here.
Yeah.
Leaders help others achieve. So leaders are inspired to share, mentor, and uplift others by offering knowledge and resources that could springboard their success.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm seeing is people on the program, Mary, I don't know whether you've noticed in the bottom line running in the program saying, we are here to support you. So individuals, maybe people want to support your programs. How can individuals and organizations help Operation Hope to achieve your objectives?
Sure. No, absolutely. There are many different ways. And it can't, as you said, coming from an individual, simply being an ambassador of hope and spreading the mission and what we've shared, and knowing that helping someone uplift themselves out of is a tough socioeconomic condition also takes a hand up. So we have a growing volunteer program that when individuals can go in and teach workshops that we're all operating at a virtual platform right now. We have strategic alliance partners with other NGOs on the ground so that we can really increase our services. We can have our programs delivered at these NGOs. We can, other organizations, corporations can get involved in any way that makes sense. So there are many different ways. If they, please feel free to reach out to me. I can connect someone to to my team directly, what we're doing in the US and outside too.
So coming to point 7, because I said we're going to look at sort of 10 principles of leadership. I want to talk about leaders taking the initiative, because we've now looked at the individual, but I also want to talk about community leaders, because leaders are self-starters. They use their own emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-management, social skills, and motivation to bring a project to fruition. In other words, to see the thing through from start to finish. So how does Operation Hope help local leaders? I've heard you say that you've also worked in my hometown. I've been in London for 17 years now, but I'm from Cape Town in South Africa and a very proud South African. How does Operation Hope help local leaders take initiative to disrupt poverty in their community, and very importantly, to promote economic inclusion, because I think there's a lot of people who are feeling excluded economically at the moment.
Sure. No, absolutely. Well, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier of just really working with, listening and working with everyone where they are. I mean, I think we all know how difficult this can be and how exhausting it can be, and how you bring, as you just described, your heart and soul into this work, and that there is a business element, there's a structural element, but sometimes that gets so heavy because you are so connected to the mission and those lives that you're trying to change and empower. So what we do with local leaders is we help them understand that running like a business and is important, and it doesn't have to feel like that. That doesn't take you away from your mission and your vision, but it helps you be as efficient as possible, so that you can pour all your emotion and into your heart and soul into it. So meaning, for example, it's important to stay in touch with those that are supporting the organization, and most efficient if you put it into some type of a computer program, or using technology to your advantage to deliver your programming, taking a step back to put in the infrastructure.
And do I have an open line to your coaches? Do you keep an open line with these leaders, with your coaches?
We do. So we have, with our coaches, they forge these every quarter. They have 7 new strategic alliance partners that they work with, of all different sizes and backgrounds. And we do, a core component of what Operation Hope does is thought leadership as well. And
so if someone thinks, I want to be a leader, because everyone is the leader of their own life. And that's also what we're talking about today. Leaders love to learn. Good leaders read. Networking with people is so important at the level to which you aspire to. And also being a lifelong learner. I absolutely believe in lifelong learning, or going back to school for additional training. Mary, what are you currently reading? And if you could advise someone to read just one book, which one would that be?
Sure. Well, I will say I will be starting very soon The Art of Iconic Leadership of our wonderful host, Dr. Mitali. And one of the things that I strive and work on myself personally is, always maintaining that sense of true inner peace and calm and and stability. That that helps me drive through any challenging situation. So a book that I have right now is called Resilient, and it is not resilience to outside, but more so resilience to inside, and helping, stabilize and build up your internal EQ at any moment in time, so that you can weather any storm as a personal leader. I do highly recommend, there's another book called Still, which I find, a lot of it has, and daily passages of Stoic leaders. So I think regardless of what type of leader you are or you want to become, I think it's important to have inner peace and calm.
So on your bedstand is Dr. Justina Mitali's book, Iconic Leadership. I also look forward to reading that.
Yeah, it will be there, yeah.
Grit and resilience is absolutely called on. So we have the second last point now. Leaders fight for a good cause. Leaders find ways to use the resources and skills that they have acquired to give back, and also to do pro bono work. Does Organization Hope help other organizations with skills transfer? And where can they contact you for this? Because you've got these award-winning programs. So do you help other organizations so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel? Where can they find you?
Oh, no, for sure. Absolutely. And again, we feel like we can, be a catalyst for change, and we can't do it all on our own with our programs. So we want to make sure. So there are other other NGOs and organizations that say we do this and this and this, but we want to do a financial inclusion piece. And we can bring our coaches into that setting. And oftentimes then they'll have their staff members that will be empowered by the program as well themselves. Or there's a component that can be offered. We also partner with a ton of different organizations like the FDIC, regulatory agency in the States, that has a brilliant curriculum that there's a train the trainer program that can be implemented. So we want always to help others build strength and tools and opportunities in order to do that.
Brilliant. So leaders are change agents. This is point 10. Leaders are change agents. Leaders expose people to opportunities to refine their skills, recommending meetings, trainings, different sessions. They urge people to think about who they are, where they want to go next, and who they are developing in their team, which is something I very strongly believe in for the places where I've worked before I started my own organization. How do you do this in your team? How do you develop your team?
Yeah, well, we go back to the common theme of listening, and you really need to listen and to observe and to. But one of the things that I honestly think is more important than ever in our world is positivity, and bringing in every day a sense of we all have the power to make this change happen. Heavy as it may feel now, as it may feel tomorrow morning, but we truly have the ability to make change happen. So I like to inspire, I like to invigorate, but I also put structure around that too, so that you can enable them to be their best, set them up for success. And I don't try to make any of my team members do more than they can. I want to always invite them to learn more and to gain more skill, but I always want them to maximize what they're truly good at and place them in that position in order to do that.
Great. So I've got a bonus point here.
Okay.
And that is, leaders stay calm to gain clarity on their decisions. Mary, from what I see, you're an artist and a floral artist or flower artist, because I stalked you a little on Instagram. How can art inspire calm and positive energy for great decision making?
Oh, absolutely. I'll say that my good friends in South Africa, in Johannesburg, they call me Mbali instead of Mary because they know that I paint with flowers. So it is very important for any leader or any person to use their right brain and their left brain. And it enables you to truly be a person that's able to relax, enjoy, absorb, learn. The art is whether you like to look at it, whether you like to participate, whether you have artistic talent, whether you don't, it doesn't matter. It's a very peaceful, aesthetic thing that really helps empower your brain. And my husband launched his own nonprofit organization called Art and Soul for that reason, to bring art into the lives of young people that are going through a terrible challenge, to help that calm and peace and again, fire up their brains so that they can operate at be their best self.
Right. So these are the 11 of the principles of leadership, not just 10. Mm-hmm. And Mary and I believe leadership is about sharing power, working with mentors and coaches, and cultivating others to get things done with a real sense of excellence. And as such, I want to quote John Hope Bryant. John Hope Bryant is the founder and CEO of Operation Hope. And when I saw this, Mary, I was so lit up by this. John says, angry is not a strategy, and frustration is not a business plan. And I think this is really something the world needs to hear right now. Angry is not a strategy, and frustration is not a business plan. You need to put a good plan in place. And you've been a real inspiration to many just on this talk here today also. So believe you're a winner and leader in your own life. Change your mindset, and you are the leader you have been waiting for. Become the leader in your own life. And I want to also then recommend John's book, which was launched just in the beginning of this month, Up From Nothing.
Yes.
So John Hope Bryant, Up From Nothing.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It should be on everyone's list as well for leadership. And
I will definitely be ordering that. Mary, so incredible meeting you. I'm so inspired by the work that you do with your organization. Thank you also for working in my home country. And we wish you every success with your work and helping others. I know people can get information at operationhope.org.
Yes.
Is there anywhere else that you could say that they could contact you or follow you?
Yeah, that's the best place to get information. The easiest for everyone to connect. For
So
sure.
operationhope.org. Mary, thank you so much. And I look
thank you so much.
to
It was such a pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone. It's my pleasure to realize performance for the World Summit on Women and Girls. So here we go. Thank you. Thanks for watching my performance. So just follow me in my social media like Facebook, Instagram, in my full name, Denise Sagopovic. Thank you. Greetings for everyone.
sinazibe Deinga bwele yamene onganisiye. They say what goes up must come down in an ikanda iolo. And that's why lelo nilina bonso. Will you carry me on? Cause you carry my joy. You carry my reason to live and to breathe every day in an akana. Suyenda Daba mutima wanga ulitaitina wako nizakangala wanjine. Take my heart, take my heart. Daba mutima ene ulianchita kulia weo mukwao. Take my eyes, take my eyes. Amasonga ngenga manyigwe weka mukwano. I wanna be your lover, your shoulder when you cry, all day, all night, from sunrise to the sunset. When the sun goes to sleep, they can say what they like, they can think what they like. Mukwano wange jolly will last forever. They can come, they will go. They can take what they like, but I know they can take my love away. Take my heart. Ndaba mtima ene ulianchita kulia weho mukwao. Take my eyes, take my eyes. Amasonga ngenga manyigwe weka mukwano. Take my heart, you can love me forever. Take my own if we can't be together. Forever, you said we'll be together. And right now, you gon' change like the weather. I remember it was December. You said there will never be cut timber. Like birds, we'll be flying together. My body, my heart, my desire. I remember it was December. You said there will never be cut timber. Like birds, we'll be flying together. My boy, my heart, my desire. Ndaba mtima wanga ulitaitina wako nizakangala wanjine. Take my heart, take my heart. Ndaba mtima ene ulianchita kulia we. Take my eyes, take my eyes, yeah. Amasonga ngenga manyigwe weka mukwano. Throw up, skibidi bombs gang.
Okay, it's gonna. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gents. How are you all doing? I hope you've been enjoying the day so far. I would like to call upon Larissa Miller, Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Global, to introduce and to start our fireside chat on leadership with Her Excellency President Amina Gurub Fakim. So I'm going to hand over to Larissa Miller. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Justina Mutale Foundation and this summit in honor of the International Day of the Girl Child, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you all to Her Excellency Amina Gurib Fakim, the first ever president of the Republic of Mauritius. President Gurib Fakim is a world-renowned biologist, an advocate for gender equality, a champion for women in STEM. Your Excellency, it's my distinct pleasure and honor to host you today for this fireside chat as we talk about the journey to equality. Good morning, Your Excellency. Welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You are such an amazing advocate for women and children, and you have really prioritized this throughout your entire career, and it's my distinct honor to speak with you today. I would love to be able to get your thoughts on how you see the amazing journey for women and what the future holds for women, both in STEM and in all sectors and industries, from leadership to politics.
Thank you for having me. Thank you again for Justina Foundation Mutale to be hosting me, and also for the great work that she has been doing to promote the girl child, and to thank you for everything that she's doing to do just that. We need more champions like herself. So, Larissa, it's been an amazing journey, and it's been, kind of a haphazard because I never planned anything. Everything just happened. And so, I'm speaking today, so maybe you could have more pointed question that will lead to our discussion. And I'll be very happy to share, whatever pearls of wisdom that I may bring to the narrative.
Well, we've come so far in 2020, and yet we still have so far to go. And it seems that every time we take a few steps forward, something undoubtedly happens to set us backward. And one of the greatest challenges I see for women is not so much the glass ceiling, but even perhaps women together, as sometimes we have a tendency to sabotage one another, I always say, instead of support one another. Could you speak to the value and benefit of women collaboration, working together and empowering one another to ensure that we have a much stronger way forward and a position in politics and leadership, as well as society as a whole globally?
I'm very happy that you've raised this subject, Larissa, because as a community of women, we have a very serious problem. And you have put your finger really on the issue. We don't see, I will be very blunt here, because I think we're speaking amongst ourselves and also to the girls who are listening to us, because they need to know. We have an issue amongst ourselves, women. When we have reached a certain position, be it of power, be it of influence, or whatever we have achieved, we seem to be wanting to elbow other women out. And this is deplorable. And I will again be very, very boring and have to cite again Madeleine Albright when she says, there's a special place in hell for those women who don't help other women. And it's very true. I've witnessed it. And this is one of the reasons why I've said to myself, I will help that girl child. I will show her that she needs to believe in herself. But still, she still needs to believe in the community of women. And if we are going to rise together, we're going to have to take that girl by the hand and take that woman, young woman by the hand, and make her rise with us. Otherwise, we're all going to sink together. And this is not something that we want. We want more women out there. We want more women out there because we need to change the narrative. And if you see what's happening in the COVID space, in the COVID era we are living in, we see that almost over 70% of the frontliners, they are women. But women who are influencing policy, they are less than 25%. So there's something grossly wrong here. So how do we change that? And I come up with another cliche that if there is no space for you at that table, bring your chair. Bring your chair along and make that difference. We need that. We need more women at the table. In fact, like has been said before, women have to be where decisions are being made.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And you have accomplished something very remarkable as the first female president. You're a world-renowned biologist. How do we start to accelerate opportunities for women in careers outside of the traditional roles that too often we are still channeled into and guided towards, rather than careers in STEM, or as a good friend of mine who I will be speaking with later says, STEAM, as we add analytics in the middle of that? How do we start to encourage women to look at careers in perhaps non-traditional sectors and industries?
I see the channeling of women as the very famous, leaky pipe syndrome. Right? We need to push more women in so that we have more women outside on the other side of the pipe. Unfortunately, there are many hurdles that women have to encounter, and that starts at a very young age. It starts with a girl child, because she's forever being told that, science is not for her. She should be happy getting a husband, getting married, and, of course, nurturing kids. Of course, this is a very, very important role. I've done it. My mom has done it for me. And it's a very important role not to be neglected. But women can do so much more. But unfortunately, the stereotyping starts at a very early age. And in some parts of the world, when that girl child managed to get an education when she goes to school, the infrastructure is not there. It's not ready for her. I'll just give you an example. We are talking about girls, at puberty, getting the period. Very often they have to leave school for 1 week a month because the infrastructure isn't there for her to accommodate her as a girl. Then when she opens her book, what does she see? She doesn't see any women who have made it. And this is what we need to do. We need to change the stereotype in the textbooks. So she goes up, and of course she goes up, she does very well. And she comes up at university, and I saw that when I was at the university, when I was teaching girls, they were doing so much better than the male colleagues. But they seem to be stuck at the middle management position. She doesn't get, kind of boosted up. And there again, so many cliches come in. If a woman is too ambitious, she'll be told, that she's too feisty, she's too aggressive, and all these epithets which get stuck to her. And of course, the other very famous cliche that I will come up with, when a man comes home late after a day's job, he'll be told he's hardworking. And when a woman comes home late after a day's work or whatever she's pushing, driving her own ambition, she will get told that she's selfish because she's not looking after the family. Again, I have lived through this, so I can safely say that these are the realities of a woman's life when she wants to further her career. And this is where I bring in the gender role, because gender is both men and women. And I think we have seen some countries that have been very, very famous in terms of the progressive policies, and they have seen so many women coming up very prominently, and that's Scandinavian countries, which have been very, very prominent in family-oriented policies, and they are earning the benefits. So these are things that I think at the level of the Justina Mutali Foundation, we need to keep on engaging with women to show women that they can do it, because they are needed up there. We need more women leaders. We need more women policymakers, more women scientists. And I think for the first time in the Nobel history, we have seen 4 women this year who have been, recognized for their contribution in whatever areas they have chosen to be in.
Absolutely. And I think, it starts with the child as we teach them to refine their confidence in the attributes that will allow them to grow up to be good leaders, and be able to achieve really anything that they set out to achieve without being channeled into very specific and traditional roles. But one of the challenges that we have, and I believe this is pretty much true in all nations, is that women in childbearing years also always find themselves in a conflicted position of maintaining their job position and putting off perhaps having children out of fear of losing their career growth. And how do we encourage businesses to really work with younger women who are climbing the career ladder to ensure that they can have the confidence of knowing that their career journey can continue even if they take a slight pause to have a family?
That's a very, very important question, Larissa, and I'm very happy that you have raised it, because whenever a woman is precisely at the childbearing age, this is the time when she's also very productive in her career. And unfortunately, society will say she needs to take time off to look after the baby. But taking time off means 6 months, means 1 year, means 2 years. And this is, as far as I was concerned, it's time lost. Because the way she'll have to catch up when she gets back into that job, if she gets back at all, because by that time the second pregnancy or sometimes the third pregnancy kicks in and the woman gets marginalized. And unfortunately, her male colleague will not be accommodating. So I think this is again where progressive policies have to be put in place, where there can be a nursery in the job space. And this is something that many countries are adhering to. And this is also where parenting has to be shared. And there has to be more paternal leaves. And there has to be, of course, equally distributed leave for both mother and father. And this is something that society has to, again, this is a very, very cliche. And in some very conservative society, the rearing, of course, the child is still the woman's role. And so this is, again, what we have to keep on addressing, that the woman also needs her time, needs her space, and the policies have to accompany her. And of course, in many countries, the fathers are being incentivized to take the parental leave to look after the child. And those countries that have done it again, and I think one country that has done it that comes to mind straight away is, of course, Sweden. And we see that the family thrives better because the father takes a much more proactive role in the family. And this is what we need as well. And in many countries, this still has to be challenged. And of course, this has to be done because we need both the mother and the father in terms of, in terms of joint parenthood. That's only fair.
How do we encourage the workplace, and this is globally as well, to be more accommodating to women in the workplace? You mentioned nurseries, which I believe is very important, but women have to be comfortable enough to use those nurseries without feeling that they're being belittled by male colleagues for having to take the necessary breaks throughout the day that the responsibility of motherhood entails. But women also too often feel in the workplace that they have to emulate a man. They have to dress in a very conservative manner, they have to keep their emotions in check. And part of the value that I believe we bring to the workplace is our varied perspective and our emotional perspective and our sense of empathy that we have. So how can we make global workplaces a bit more accommodating and welcoming to a woman as an executive or a young professional?
Yes. Again, I'm smiling because I have been accused. In fact, I'm very happy to see, Larissa, we're both wearing pink.
And it was not planned.
Exactly. We didn't plan it at all. I think a woman must be proud to be a woman. Right. And I've said this, I say this to my daughter, don't be afraid to say that you're a woman, you do things differently. Again, I'll come back to the COVID era. We have seen that those countries that have had the best result, at least for up till now, they have been countries that have been led by women. We bring in a different management style. We bring in empathy. We bring in communication, we bring it pastoral care. These are characteristics which women can bring. So please, when you're a career woman who have made it to a certain position, please don't change. Please don't wear this gray suit and this white shirts. Be comfortable to be wearing a dress. Be comfortable to be wearing high heel stilettos if you have to, if you feel comfortable in it. Of course, you can walk in them. Yes. So and when I used to say, when people used to call me Mr., because when you are at the end of the phone, when they see professor associate with you in science, the first reaction is to call you Mr. So I said to these people, please don't demote me. Don't call me Mr. I'm very happy to be a woman. So please call me Mrs. Please call me doctor. Please call me professor. But I'm very comfortable with being a woman and to be an achieving woman. So please don't change. Be yourself.
Thank you for that. We suffer from gender inclusiveness problems around the world, even in the most complex and developed nations. How do we begin to advocate for policy changes in those developing nations where women are still more or less seen in the traditional roles and lack the opportunity, sometimes even to have a small job that will give them their own financial independence? How do we begin to promote women in business in these developing economies?
That's a very tall order, Larissa, because in many parts of the world, it is still not possible to be a functioning woman as an entrepreneur. In many parts of the world, a woman has to be accompanied by a father or husband or a brother to even open a bank account. In many parts of the world, the laws are not on her side. She will not have access to credit. She will not have access to land because she is a woman. And again, in countries which deem to say they are progressive, we need to change that law. That law has to be, and in some countries, I can also again mention, it is the Scandinavian countries, where if there are not enough women on boards, for example, these countries, they are liable to shut down. They can shut down. These companies are liable to be shut down by the state because they are not progressive enough. I have been on committees where if you don't bring in a certain percentage of women into the award of scholarships, for example, these projects, they will not pass. So it's a give and take situation. We need to have women acknowledging that, they need to do more effort towards women. We need to have the state also enacting the appropriate laws. But more importantly, we need a change in mindset amongst ourselves. When, again, I'll come back to the first question you asked me, we need to have women taking other women by the hand. And this is why we need more of the Justina Mutali Foundation to do what they're doing, to promote these women, to help them, to tell them that they can do it. And there are other women behind her, because very often women find themselves alone in position of responsibility. Mind you, it's a very, very lonely position to be out there at the top. But if we know there's a community of women behind us, we should be able to make more headways and make more progress in our respective societies.
Right. And it's important that women recognize that when you uplift another woman, you are only creating more opportunities for yourself as well.
Yes.
You mentioned a very interesting point, and one that I'm very passionate about, and that's women on boards. Too often women get channeled to the nonprofit boards and they don't find themselves on the executive boards. Even though more and more companies are mandating a certain percentage of women on boards, we're still falling short. How do you see that companies can begin to prioritize and respect the value of women on boards?
I'm going to be provocative here. I think we have to start naming and shaming. If you look at some of the Fortune 500 companies, you're right. There are very, very few women. And unfortunately, again, Larissa, women, they tend to put themselves in a level where they will say, I'm not ready for that promotion. I should be 200% before I can actually aspire to be in that position. We should say no. When these kind of positions are being given, or their people are being appointed, men will go out there faster. So we need to tell that woman, even if you are 60% ready, go for it. Go for it. We need to be able to push them to that. But of course, at the end of the day, we need to start naming and shaming those companies, those institutions that don't give equal opportunity. And when a woman has been denied a position of responsibility or a promotion, she must be told to stand up and shout. It's only way. I'm not saying you have to bully your way in, but it's not very far. We need to start doing that.
Absolutely. And you also make another very interesting point, and very important point, in that men have to be an important part of this dialogue, and this gender inclusiveness. And, we can really begin to put this notion of a glass ceiling to bed if we start seeing the collective value that each gender brings to the table. And how do you think we can begin to further and propel this dialogue with men and include men at a greater level into the discussion of gender balance and gender equality?
I have chosen the word gender very, very carefully because sometimes when men have been there to help to mentor a woman, that woman has been able to make massive progress. So we need the mentoring from men because I'll be very, very candid again. They have been there first, in as much as, the rules of the game, they're still made by men. So we are playing by their rules. So we need them along as well to be able to help us. So we call on men because I have always said that a girl child will make it very far when she knows that her cheerleader is her father, he's her uncle, he's her grandfather. And the same goes everywhere. We need to keep telling them that they are going to be fathers to girls as well. So they need to start playing a much more prominent role in the advancement of the women cause, because at the end of the day, they are husbands, they are the sons, they'll be fathers to girls, so they will want their daughters to move as well. So we need to keep on this narrative every day. But I come back again to women. We need a strong community of women to help other women.
You have been throughout your career, and for sure throughout your presidency, you have been such a wonderful advocate for women in leadership roles and the importance of mentoring. And you've really made Mauritius a phenomenal example of women and what women can achieve, and women can even rise to a position of ultimate power as you have. How is Mauritius setting an example that perhaps other nations in Africa and beyond can turn to as an example?
I think the turning point for Mauritius was when education became free in 1976. I'm a product of that partly, but partly it has been the vision of my father to educate me, because when I was younger, education was, of course, you had to pay for the fees. But as soon as education became free, then the parent didn't have to worry, because at the end of the day, it makes economic sense to be educating a boy, because it's perceived that the boy, of course, will be the breadwinner eventually, and of course, look after the parents, which of course is changed totally now. But anyway, so that was the mentality at the time, the mindset. So when the parent had realized that they didn't have to pay for the girl's education, then she had access to it. So what we have seen is feminization of many various positions. If you go in the judiciary, you'll find many women. If you go in the medical profession, many women. Teachers, in fact, one day my daughter came home and said to me, I've got a man as teacher now. I said, well, what's wrong? She said, but all the time I've only had women teachers. So this became an issue at some point. But at the end of the day, we are seeing a feminization of our various profession. But unfortunately, in the world of politics, where laws are being made, we're still finding that the women are trading. And this is where we need to bring in more women, because when women are there at the table where policies are being shaped, that definitely changes the entire policy. So this is, again, where we are weak in the political world. There are many reasons why women don't want to go into politics, and we understand that, but I think we need to push them. And here again, I'll come back to this very notion of quota. We need to have this prop initially until it becomes a natural effort for women to go in. But initially, we'll insist on the quota. And unfortunately, the quota is still the minimum 30%, because if you want parity, I would say we have to go for 52%, but we're not there yet.
Absolutely. You mentioned education, which is so important, and which I, having grown up in the United States, even fell victim to, where girls are generally directed away from the math and the sciences. And, I struggled with math and was channeled in a direction that was clearly not in any of the STEM subjects. I was channeled towards English and some of the other areas that they think girls have more strength and skills than boys do. And that is absolutely a fallacy. I see that with my own daughter, who excelled at math and sciences, but yet it's still not a mainstream directional push for girls in that they are strong at math and they can be great scientists. How do we begin to make that change systemically across the world, where girls are now encouraged to embrace those subjects rather than deterred from them?
That's a very good question. And I will just start by mentioning an event that I attended a few years ago when I asked young girls between the age of 13 to 15, tell me who are the prominent women scientists that you know. And I was shocked, Larissa, because many of them didn't even know who Marie Curie was, because the books don't mention it, right? So here we have a very big, a huge task ahead of us to be able to change the stereotype. We need more role models, right? And this is, again, something that we'll have to, again, bring into the policy, because these kids growing up, they need to know that girl's brain is not different to a boy's brain, right? And we have seen role models. We have seen that so many powerful women out there, but we need to showcase them more and more. We need to make them more visible, so that we need to actually engage with them as we proceed. Of course, we can't have any more Marie Curie, but we can have the two ladies who have just been given the Nobel for CRISPR-Cas technology, the gene editing. So we need to tell them that women are good. Women can do things. Women do things differently, yes, but we are not any different, and we are in some instances better. So this is where we need to have the self-confidence to say to the boy child and the girl child that they can do it. And this is where the damage is done. This is where the girl gets pushed away. But again, I'll come back to your question of the United States. You know, you were the country that pushed ahead the Title IX, and that made a huge difference for the engagement of more people in education and more girls in education. These efforts were modest at the time, but we have seen the benefits in the long run. So we need more investment in education. And now I will go the extra mile to say we need more investment in quality education. We need to do less and less with rote learning. We need to do less and less in terms of memory learning, because Google is here to do that for us. The computer's here. We need to make them think laterally. We have to make them do things with their hands. So this is, again, where the quality, the education I receive as a child is no longer valid for my daughter, and it certainly will not be valid for my grandchild one day. So again, let's relook at our education, the quality of the education we impart to our children, because this is, again, where we'll be making a big difference.
Absolutely. I watched an interesting video last night on women inventors, and they asked girls from all around the world to name any women inventors, or to name inventors, and they all came up with Alexander Graham Bell and Leonardo da Vinci, and they were all males. And then they asked them to name a female inventor, and none of them could. And yet so many of the products that we have in society and some of the greatest scientific innovations came from men. But it must be a part of the curriculum beginning at a very young age, where boys are brought into this conversation right from their very first years in school too. But how do we, that's such a big challenge to do a systemic overhaul of what have been the traditional curriculums. Where do we even begin?
We begin with the school textbooks. We include, for example, when we look at the Apollo mission, we talk more about Katherine Johnson. We talk about the hidden figures that we have seen the movie on. We have to speak about the Marie Curie. Now we have to speak about the Charpentier. We have to speak of the Doudnas. So we need to keep on talking to these kids, and we need to have more role models out there to speak to the children. And we need to have more boot camps where these role models are there to speak to the girls and to make them dream, that it is possible. It's possible because other people have been out there. They have not followed the beaten track. They have gone past the beaten track. They have created their own track. And we have to keep on improving their self-esteem, because this is, again, where they go wrong, because they're always brought down. They're always told this is a girl thing. Girls cry, girls to play with dolls. There's nothing wrong in that. But we need to tell them that they can do things. And it starts at home. When the washing up chore is there, the boy has to do it. The mother has to ensure, the father has to ensure that the chores are equally distributed. Girls and boys, they all do the same thing. And this is where the respect, as I said, the cheerleader will come from there. And this is where it all starts. Changes will happen one family at a time.
Absolutely. I fully believe that. And you were such a wonderful role model and advocate for women during your presidency. And you really set the standard high for other female leaders around the world. How do we encourage women leaders to embrace the responsibility that they have to encourage the growth for women and the opportunities for women, not only in their country, but around the world? As so often a female leader falls onto the same train track as all the males, dealing with the issues that all world leaders have to deal with, but too often they don't take the opportunity to prioritize the acceleration of women in education and business and industry. How do we encourage other women leaders to do as you have done and become an advocate for the women in their countries through the position that they've attained?
You know, Larissa, one thing we have to also tell women and tell young people generally, they have to learn to start taking risk. I make my husband smile and I say, you know, I've taken 3 risks in my life. The first risk I took, I got married. The second risk I took is that I left my comfort zone of academia. Because I was a university professor, I could have just sat there and earned my pension just by teaching. It's a good profession. I took the risk of becoming an entrepreneur. And then the third thing I did, I took a risk to throw my hat in the political arena. So we have to take risk. We have to embrace it. We have to embrace it as if it's part of our daily life. And again, this is where women tend to shy away. Women tend to shy away because our makeup as being a woman, as a woman, if you look at our own reflex, our own reaction, we tend to take a step back when it comes to a position of taking a risk. Women, sometimes they will not jump, for example, take this step ahead. That's because of our makeup. But we have to embrace the fact that we need to start taking risks. We have to nurture this. And again, this is something that we inculcate in our young girls when they're growing up. Learn to take risk. Learn to take calculated risk. Because that's the only way forward. That's the only way you break the mold, by learning to take risk and move ahead.
You touched on something that I'm very passionate about, and that is the entrepreneurial mindset and why it is so important to helping to nurture that in girls and allowing them to realize that they have the power to assimilate into any role that they want. And if it's not available, they can create it for themselves through this startup mindset and being an entrepreneur. How do we encourage that amongst girls at a greater level, and women as well?
Yeah, again, this is something that I keep pushing even now, is that we need to keep on building the ecosystem. And I come from the continent of Africa. Again, this is where Americas and Asia, they are ahead because they have created the ecosystem for example, somebody with an idea, an academic with an idea can come and test that idea and create their own enterprise. So this is something that we have to do. We have to keep on advocating that African countries, African governments, even governments, period, they have to keep on investing in the youth. They don't look at education or health or the social safety net as an expense. It is not an expense, it's an investment. And if we keep on building that ecosystem, that we will help provide the safety net precisely for these young kids, these young boys and girls for that matter, to come and develop the ideas. Because I keep saying that young people need to become job creators and not just job seekers. Why I'm saying it? Because all the data are showing that, for example, in the African continent, we are getting something like 12 million graduates every year landing on the job market. These are World Bank figures. And there's no way any government will be able to create the jobs. And not forgetting as well, if we are going to push for the 4th industrial revolution, we're going to find that automation will take away most of the routine jobs. So we'll need to be able to rethink our job creation, this sector totally, because automation will of course take away jobs, but we need to reassess our human capital and see where we can channel this human capital, these talents, into jobs of the future. Because if you look at the ILO figures, it's telling you that 60% of the jobs that our young kids are going to go into have not yet been created. So the challenges are out there. We need to have a rethink of our education. We need to have a rethink of the safety net. We need to rethink the ecosystem where these kids will end up one day and do the whatever they have to do. And this is where women have a key role to play, because women intuition must not be marginalized. We bring in a new narrative. We bring in a new perspective. And this is where men and women have to work together. But again, keep on investing in our youth. That's the future.
Absolutely. To switch subjects just slightly, and something that isn't necessarily directed just to women, but you and I both had the honor of participating in a conference on mental health a few days ago. And as we look at the external challenges that society places on our youth globally, we're now seeing a rise in the epidemic of youth depression. And how do we begin to encourage our youth to achieve their full potential while taking into consideration the unique struggles that they have that are wreaking havoc on their mental health, given our hyperconnectivity and our social media and just the external pressures to succeed and achieve? How do we balance the mental health struggles that our youth need to face with them being able to achieve their full growth potential?
When somebody has a heart problem, when somebody's arm is broken, they'll be very happy to say that I've got this problem. But when somebody is suffering from depression, when somebody is suffering from a bipolar disorder, when somebody is schizophrenic, there seems to be a stigma attached to that. And I don't understand why this is like this. And we are, as you have rightly said, we are in a hyper-connected world. We are in a world where communication is so easy, and yet people communicate less and less. And we're finding that people sitting at dinner table with the mobile phone. I mean, why do we have to sacrifice a special moment of family time when we are again looking at, when our attention is taken elsewhere? So I think this is again where parents have a very important role to play in saying that this is special, our time. We need to talk. We need to be able to speak, and parents have to be able to identify where the problems are. So we need to address communication as in the good old days or good bad days, or whatever it is. Go beyond the gadget, go beyond the mobile phone, go beyond the IT, the social media revolution. And, people get so depressed when they don't get likes on Facebook, for example. And they tend to say, okay, people haven't liked my comments. So these are things that we have to understand. We explained in the values of life. So we have to go back to basics. But this is again where we need to have people who can listen. And in fact, I suggested, during that event we attended, is that the infrastructure has to be there for people to be able to lift the phone up anonymously and speak to people so that we can find out where the problems are. But more importantly, it comes back to family and friends. We need to be able to disengage the kids from this hyper-connected, frenzied world of multimedia and get them to speak, get them to know that there's a shoulder there for them to cry on, so that we don't see this pandemic, the rise in suicide. And we have seen that during the COVID era, where they were shut down, where people were forced to live with a violent partner and there's no one to speak to. And this is one of the reasons that motivated me to give my time to this cause, because it is such an important cause for mental health, and we don't do enough. We don't do enough. Sometimes we are guilty ourselves as parents that, we are so taken up with our careers, with our lives, that we don't pay that attention. So let us be more sensitive to the needs of young people, to our own children, to be able to speak to them on a daily basis. 15 minutes, 20 minutes is enough sometimes, and it's not long in 24 hours.
As we look at raising a new generation that will be navigating a very disruptive and transformational world, as we are in this UN declared decade of action, where this is essentially the last decade we have in order to be able to save our planet environmentally and socially and so forth. If we don't do it in the next 10 years, the United Nations says that the planet will essentially go into a period of hospice where we just limp it along and we can't reverse the damage. How do you see sustainability, both socially, economically, and environmentally, playing a role in future careers and opportunities for women? And how can we really be the change makers of the future by integrating sustainability into our way forward?
Before I answer this question on sustainability, there's something that I hear on a daily basis. We are trying to save nature. We are not trying to save nature. Nature doesn't need us. We are a very, very small percentage of the species on this planet that nature can do without us. And this is something I say, that when we're saying we are saving nature, we're not saving nature, we are saving our own future on this planet. And I think we have insulted nature enough. Right? The way we pollute, the way we consume, the way we do business, we are not being sensitive to what nature is telling us. The symptoms are there. I think nature showed us rather, what can happen when you don't, pollute. We have seen the Everest for the first time in so many years. We have seen the air being cleared. We have seen nature back in our cities. So nature is telling us, work with me or else you are doomed. And this is something that people are not listening. We are not listening. We are talking about sustainable development, yes. But what is sustainable development? It's working with nature. It's respecting nature. You have seen, for example, and this again, of course, I'm sure the hypothesis might change. We are coming too close to the species of animals. How did the COVID happen? We are saying that the virus jumped. Why did the virus jump? We are creating so much damage in our environment that the virus is just one. Once we have gone over the pandemic, we are going to be confronted with climate change. And this is something that no world leader wants to hear, because it is going to threaten their own election, ambition. But we have to move beyond that. It is far too big. We need to be able to speak honestly and say, look, we have a crisis. Let us get together and solve it. And here I put this squarely at the doorstep of the G20. They contribute 85% of the GDP of this world. They should be able to tackle this, just like they have tackled the financial scandal. They have tackled so many things. They should be able to tackle climate change. And we put it squarely to them. So to come back to sustainable development, by 2030, we are going to be assessed as countries, as societies, by the UN. But what have we done? Now, COVID has set us back. We have seen poverty. We have seen increased inequality. We have seen the headlines that over the past few months, the billionaires have become trillionaires. Okay, so good. More zeros to their wealth. But how is that helping humanity? How is that helping us? That's the question we have to say. At the end of the day, we all breathe the same air. We'll drink the same water, the same polluted water. So getting all this, we have to get our act together. We have to start moving ourselves to be able to deliver on the SDGs. And there's only one way. We have to make sure that no one is left behind.
Absolutely, fully. And with economics and sound finances being one of the pillars of sustainability, and one of the things that we're seeing is that we don't teach our youth fiscal responsibility. Why is that such an important aspect of the way forward for curriculums? Because we don't teach it. And now we're finding that we live in a cash poor society, and the general population is struggling because of COVID, because we haven't prepared adequately for a rainy day. How can we ensure that our youth are much more prepared for the economic turmoil and ebbs and flows as we move forward?
Larissa, is that, our education system, in some places at least, is totally detached from reality. What do we teach our kids? This again goes back to the basic curriculum. And unfortunately, a lot of the curricula we're bringing to our kids, they're completely out of date. And things are moving so fast. You have to talk about fiscal responsibility. I will talk about so many other forms of responsibility we have to keep on teaching our kids. And we're not there. And we seem to be in a rat race running after I don't know what. But, we seem to be missing the wood for the trees. And this is something which is challenging all of us, because we are finding we are rearing our children and they seem to be completely out of touch with the real values. What is the value? Is it only money? And this is why we are where we are. We seem to have lost our pedals somewhere. And this is why we have to keep on bringing back this conversation, that there are other values we have to go back to. And, it's down to us against parents and societies, what we do.
Absolutely. I think we have done a horrible job, as they say, of preparing the planet for our youth. So we must prepare the youth for the future. And I want to thank you today for being such a wonderful advocate and role model. When women come together in solidarity and support, we are essentially unstoppable. And I salute you, Madam President, for being such a vocal champion of women and girls, and for joining me today for this very informative fireside chat.
Thank you so much, Larissa, and all the very best to Justina Mutali Foundation. And they're doing a great job, and they should be encouraged all along. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I feel so empowered hearing this incredible, honest, poignant conversation of Dr. Amina Gurub Fakim, the first female president of the Republic of Mauritius. Indeed, we need more women leaders, more women scientists, and more women decision makers. One of my favorite quote from her: "A woman must be proud to be a woman." So, Mita, welcome back on the show. How do you feel after hearing this incredible conversation? You're on mute, Mita.
It really was so much going back to my life and everything. She was talking about Sweden. And when I worked with the Swedish company, I realized at that time that there's so much provision for that, for paternity and maternity leave both together. A father or a mother who could decide who go back to work, and then they get nearly 1 year's leave. And other things, she was talking about nature. Because when I produce a program on nature series of 3 programs with a friend of mine who is now in New Zealand, and we made programs on ecology, environment, and nature. She's absolutely right. When it comes to coronavirus, it's nature we have ignored, and nature has been purified by the lack of transport in the air, on the land, everywhere. So what needs to be, and I completely agree with her. See, I'm wearing a sari. Be your natural self. Be a woman.
Absolutely.
It was easy for me to be in a man's world when I was in IT and telecoms completely. But there was positive discrimination. So what we have to do is get out of the frame of mind that this is meant gender-based. This is
absolutely
women's field.
We need to be proud to be a woman, and also we need to change our mindset, as she said. How about you, Misha? Welcome back on the show. What do you feel? What's your key takeaway from this incredible conversation?
Well, it was very impactful, very insightful. Knowledge, wisdom, you could say extensive experience and knowledge downloaded to us. I wish it continued. I was really impressed with how she broke things down, and you just felt like, wow, is she my grandmother? Is she my my auntie? Like, she was just being genuine and explaining that we need to really invest in ourselves.
Absolutely. And I want to add, Dr. Amina Gurub Fakim, if you're still here, please know that you have empowered us, you have elevated us, and you have empowered a whole generation. Thanks a million for your honesty. And to you, dear audience, remember, you can share your insights with us through our social media, through Twitter and the other pages. Now, this conversation is so interesting. We could spend the whole day and the whole night, continuing talking about this same theme. However, our program is fully packed, so we need to move on. And ladies and gents, the next thing we have in store for you, please make sure that you are seated and you have some tissues with you, because the story you're going to hear is a real life story of a young, incredible, powerful lady who survived the Rwanda genocide in 1994. And she walked through 4 countries with her baby on the back, on her bare foot. So, Mary Christine, if you are on board, please do come in, and we look forward to hearing your story. Thank you very much, Mary Christine.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and my joy to be with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am so happy to hear you. We have many women talking about women, other women and girls, and how powerful they are. I have seen that. I've seen them suffering during the genocide of Rwanda, but I have also seen their resilience, and now I'm enjoying to see their success, not only in Africa or in the camps, but also here in the West where I am, in Europe, in America, everywhere. But the president of Mauritius has been very, very, very clear to say we have to hold each other, we have to help each other, we have to sustain each other, we have to empower each other. That's the key, really. I could not be where I am if it was not by other women who have been very gracious to me, very helpful. And also, as women, we need to speak life into those girls, even those who are suffering in camps, in slums, those who are deprived. We need to empower them. Many people say refugees, they are voiceless. Women are voiceless. They are not voiceless. They have voices. All they don't have are just platforms. What do, you who has a platform? I've been really blessed to have survived that atrocity where many women got lost. They died. They lost their children. They lost their loved ones. I lost many, but I survived. Those who know my quote, it says, I suffered, I struggled to survive, but now I live and I thrive to be a blessing in my generation. Every morning when I wake up, and this is the case for many women I know, they wonder themselves, who am I? Who am I? And why am I here? Most of us, we think, I'm here for my children. I'm here for my neighbors. I'm here for my husband. I'm here for my boss. But you are not only there for those small circles. We are here to make a difference in our time, in our generation. So after I survived, when I was surviving, even on my way, I saw many children. I'm talking about young girls as a mother. They had lost their mothers. They would run behind me. They call you auntie. When you don't have a mother, another mother becomes an auntie. Would you leave those children behind, calling you auntie, and run? Some of them, I decided to run with them. And I arrived at a place of safety when I had to beg for my child, but I also had to beg for those children. You speak life into them. My daughter, I realized that I had lost a life, a dream of what I used to be and what I wanted it to be. The plans I had made for my daughter to become, they had gone. But then I saw a life in her. Though there was a time she struggled when she was suffering from malaria in a place I couldn't find medication, or hunger and starvation when I couldn't find food. But I still had a glimpse of hope for my own daughter, and the same for those children who were crying around me. But what do you do in a situation like that? What do we mothers do? We like to feed our children. We are very good at feeding our children. And what you feed your child is what she will become, or he will become. Your girl, what you feed her, what you teach her to cook, is what she will cook for her own children. Speaking life, speaking hope, transformed me, it transformed my daughter. I arrived in Europe as a refugee in a town in the city of London, in an area called Kensington, where we didn't even have many refugees. I did not know what to do. The language, English was not my language. I did not have friends to show me around and teach me do this and do that. I was struggling. My daughter didn't have any friends to play with, any toy, anything. I thought, how would I be? How would I get used to this lifestyle? It was different. It was a shock, a trauma. You mentioned about a trauma. This is what many refugees go through, and their children. It's very hard to get integrated when you don't have friends or other women to carry your hand, to show you around. But we women, what I have seen even among refugees, women, we have the strength. We have the ability to be resilient more even than men. I have seen that in my organization for refugees. Women who have become refugees are very powerful. They empower their children, especially girls. You look around, women refugees are the ones who are becoming successful. They get integrated in the community quickly. They make sure they socialize, not only for their sake, but the sake of their children. They teach manners and behavior, which I believe are very important to their children, so that they can be loved wherever they go. It happened to me. I arrived in England, I did not know what to do, but I remembered my mother telling me, use the skills you have. She taught me to cook, and I cooked. But cooking Rwandan food in Kensington, in London, was not very popular. But I invited my neighbors. I was very proud of who I was. I knew I was different. I knew I was Black. I knew I was African. I knew I was a refugee. But I knew I was me. I had other values that I would sell. The values of love, the values of sharing, which we have in Africa, which European people didn't have. So I sowed that seed. I was cooking and I would invite them, come and eat my African food. Obviously, the beginning was not easy. Many didn't turn up. But a woman would come. A neighbor would come just to see, what is this kind of African food? This kind of refugee who has come in our neighborhood. We don't have any refugees here. They came curious. But later, they found out that we have other values. We are confident of what we have. Whatever happens, the storm can come, can fall on you, but that does not destroy your values, your dignity. No, we kept our dignity. We decided to be us. Then they were wondering, what is this girl going to be? She doesn't speak English. She's late for school. She arrived here. But I never gave a look to my daughter, showing her that she will never be successful. I always told her, you will make it. We will make it. You are very clever. Speaking positive to your own child. Speaking positive to those young girls. They think these are a lost generation. Children of refugees are a lost generation. They are not a lost generation. They are children who have missed opportunities, but once we are there for them, we empower them, as the president was saying, we empower them, we encourage them, they become. Later on, those neighbors who despise that sometimes they spoke many bad words, would come back home and cry. We did not know how to report, who to report them to. They patronized us, they bullied us, but we found strength to cope within ourselves. We encourage each other. Say, we can make it. Let us make every effort. We learned the culture. We learned the etiquette of Britain. We learned the manners, the behaviors. And then we behaved. We kept our dignity, ourselves. What happened was later, my daughter they found out that she was talented. But the school for talented children were private. They said, you can't go there because you are a refugee. But being a refugee doesn't mean that you can't learn, you can't have a brain. So I dared. The president was saying, you have to dare to be proud of who you are. I went, I knocked at the doors. I said, my daughter is talented. Is there any place for her here? Obviously, the first look, you get rejection. But what is being rejection than being a refugee in 4 countries? You became immune to that. So we went, and she got a place. She passed the exam. She was successful. And then she got admission to those universities. They didn't say, oh, you don't have money, therefore you can't learn. Because you have a status of refugee, therefore your brain is not working. That's rubbish. Please, women, your words are very powerful. Speak life to your children. Speak lives to those girls who are being despised. My daughter got admission to Cambridge. Now she finished her master's in Oxford University. Did artificial intelligence. Those things you think refugees cannot do. Like Bob the Builder. Yes, we can. Women, we can make a difference. But we also mentioned about holding each other. When I saw that I was being successful, where I was, my children were being successful, but I also thought of those refugees, women I left in the camp, in slums in Africa. So I decided to empower them. Through Safe Refuge Rwanda, what I do is mentoring and counseling refugees. I'm a trauma counselor. Those who have been abused and traumatized. You come alongside them, you want them to get up. Because if you don't help a mother, a woman, it means that the next generation, her girls, will never come up. So we keep them. We're generating income projects, sewing, jewelry making. Obviously, because of COVID, they don't sell their products where they used to sell them in market frequented by tourists. But what do? I came up with something. With a company in Switzerland that now is going to be specialize in selling products made by refugees. And they are very popular, they are talented, they are there. But who will be a voice for them? We've got a platform, let us use them. We can cry for them, you can send encouraging message, but what do we do after that? They need to come up. Now they're very encouraged. They're working hard. We empower them with materials. They make clothes. It doesn't matter, African clothes made by refugees here in Europe. I'm now in Switzerland. They're very popular. In Belgium, in America, they're very popular. They have talents, they have skills. But all they need is you, another woman who have gone through that, or who have a compassion for another woman to raise her up so that she can raise her child, her daughter, a next generation. We have the power. Women, we can influence a generation. We can influence nations. We can influence our world. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mary Christine. I was so touched. You know, your story is so genuine, and it just makes us realize, you know, how lucky we are, and to appreciate more of what we have, and to keep fighting. Because I remember at the beginning you said something like, we say women don't have a voice, but we do have a voice. So what do we do with our voice? Well, what are your thoughts, Mita? And you are on mute at the moment. What's your feeling after listening to Mary Christine's story? Real life story, by the way.
It's very inspiring, and she has been so positive all throughout, and encouraging the listeners to think beyond, you know, what is possible in also most difficult circumstances which she has gone through. And now look at her daughter, she went through Oxford and Cambridge. So it's the support system which we can create amongst us ourselves as women. That's what really matters. As a compassionate culture, we support each other rather than trying to be jealous or pulling each other down. That is what is more important, is being supportive, being compassionate, and seeing how we come out of difficult circumstances, similarly trying to do set a role model and do the same for others. That's what Mary has done, that she has set a role model. And thank you so much for your heartwarming experience, Mary Christine. It's really, really special to have you. And we will be now having our next panel, which is the human rights panel. So it's on moving from outrage to courage, women and girls reclaiming their rights. And our moderator is Guluk Khan, filmmaker and holistic specialist. And we have a very special guest who is it's my absolute honor to introduce Her Imperial Majesty Queen Sheba III. She's head of state of African Kingdoms Federation. The Queen of Sheba III is the Queen of Queens and the head of state of African Kingdoms Federation and the Kingdoms Federation of the South, FOS. So she is the highest sitting monarch in all of Africa, and her bloodline goes back to the time of King Solomon. Can you imagine? So we have such a special guest, and we have other panelists as well. And I will hand it over to Guluk Khan, who is a filmmaker and holistic specialist, who will take over. Gul, you need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself, Gul. Yeah, we are not able to hear her voice. I think Gul needs to unmute herself. So yes, so this next panel, we have Manoswini Sarkar from Switzerland, student joining us, and lovely to see you, Manoswini.
Thank you
Hi.
for having me. Yeah.
Okay, and we also had one more guest. So Manoswini, yeah, you have been waiting and you got the right time. Yeah, Gul is there, back again.
Hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Probably the earphones were playing up a little bit. Thank you so much, Mita. Honestly, I've been listening all morning, and I think I just feel quite tearful at some of the information that's coming. I feel very emotional, some very powerful content there. I'd like to welcome the panelists. Actually, do we have Her Majesty here?
I think we might be having.
Okay. Should we wait?
We should wait, or we might be having a video message from her. So possibly,
okay. Yeah. Okay, lovely. Well,
my sincere and heartfelt greetings to all viewing. I'm Queen Sheba III, the Queen of Sheba, Empress of the Nubia Sheba Kingdom Nations, and very happy and delighted to be here speaking to you today. I thank Justina Matali for the opportunity to address you. I just finished a Zoom meeting just minutes ago. I had a speech prepared, written to address you, and I put it away. I had my crown on, and I took it away. I follow my intuition. I follow my heart. And my intuition and my heart said, put away the crown. Put away the paper. Just speak to you. The fact that we are still discussing issues of gender, issues of women, and issues affecting girls is horrific. It is absolutely horrific. I am much too straightforward as nature to put decorations on the truth, because one does not paint gold or polish diamonds. Truth is the truth. It is horrific. But yet at the same time, the resilience of the female, the resilience of women, and the resilience of the girl child is incomparable. I took off the crown and I put away the written, nice written 5 minutes speech. Because today I'm a woman. I'm a mother, a grandmother, but I too was once a girl. And if I look back at that time, if I look back at my life, if I look back at my childhood as that girl, is why I took the crown off and I put the speech away so I can speak to you as that girl. My childhood was not a bed of roses. It was not. And I know the childhood, the teenage years, the youth, for many women, for many girls, many of our youths, is not a bed of roses. For many, it is horrific. It is terrible. For many, the issues facing the girl children are not per se by those outside of the house, outside of the environment, outside of the community, but right there within. I often say the Almighty knows why my hair has been pretty white since childhood. At times I cover it with black paint, but no. My hair was white since a child. To address the girl child, to address the girls, to address women, to address that, we must address the environment that we put our children in. We must address the traditions that we use as blind dukes in our heads so we cannot see, blindfolds, that we do not see what happens to our children. To help the girls, we in the public eyes, we in the positions of any measure of authority must be honest. Not all of our lives were butterflies. We're happy. We're easy. You know, I do not mean that of the responsibilities that children may have to do the chores or whatever, no. But the essential needs of security, of feeling that love, the confidence, the self-confidence, the self-value, the self-dignity, the self-worth, the self itself. I'm not here to tell you about my life as a child. In fact, this is the first time in my 57 years that I publicly even mentioned it. I believed as a young girl, as a teenager, as a young woman, as a young mother, that whatever people can do, whatever life can show me, throw to me, may break my bones, may break my body, may break the legs, may break whatever, but they will never, ever, ever break me. To the girls, your spirit is like an infinite fire that nothing and no one can put out but you. I've grown up, obviously. I'm on the throne of thrones and the queen of queens because I'm born into a family that was very old and the lines of ancient Egypt, ancient Nubia, mother throne of Sheba. I'm blessed to be a part of many cultures from Northeast Africa, Middle East, and South Europe and Caribbean. Indeed, the issues facing girls is global. But the cure, the solution too, is global. And if we really need and want to make that change, we will stop talking about it. And do it. Change the laws and bylaws that allow for a feeling of patriarchy above all and matriarchy below, because it's those girls that grow to women and in their door to make a duplication of the female self, and in our sons produce our opposite, the male. We, the women, the girls, the mothers of the nation, the mothers of this planet. So we do not ask respect. Unapologetically, we retake that respect. That the childhood of the women and the childhood of the girls, when they look back, would be one that we can look upon with happiness, not sadness, not stripping of dignities or dreams or hope. I'm proud today to sit on the throne. I try my best in all that I do. Does it mean that everything disappears? No, we have a way, and I like being honest, that some semblance of that, it stays there. And I have the feeling, especially if there's something that you are to do in life, you will get more attacked, but you will be stronger. I'm honored today to be the World Peace Committee Deputy President for Africa. I'm honored today to be the World Organization of States Deputy Minister for Africa. The Deputy Minister and the Deputy President are both the highest roles in Africa. I'm honored to be on many different foundations. I'm honored to be the Vice President of the Arab African Council for Integration and Development, which is representing the 23 countries plus the 55 Africa. I'm honored with all of these things, and I'm not saying it to glorify myself or self-glorify. I have no need, I have no need, I have no use, I have no desire to. There's a lot more roles. But what I'm saying is, no one can stop your destiny but you. Be stronger and stronger. Love you and let go of the weight that we feel. Flourish and prosper. To the girls and to the women, study. Study whatever you can study and rise. Today is the International Day of the Girls. Let us make an effort to unite and be there for each other. Me, I'm there for you. I can do, so can you. Each in our worlds, our environment, and our space. And nothing, and no one can stop that. Thank you.
Wow, what a very powerful speech there, or thoughts. I'm deeply touched. And I'd like to now thank Her Imperial Majesty for that, and to introduce the rest of my panel, starting with Dr. Christopher Fumanyo, who is the Senior Associate Regional Director of NDI West, Central Africa, Cameroon. Welcome. I'd also like to introduce Ifra Ahmed, the founder of Ifra Foundation Somali, who's actually based in Ireland. Kay Reader, Global Ambassador for the She Is Foundation, and she's based in the Philippines. Jason Renville, Leadership and Certifying Agent USA, welcome. Manuswini Sarkar, who's a university student in Switzerland. Welcome. Sorry if I pronounced your name slightly wrong. And lastly, Princess Pamela Ogwanusi, who is a journalist from Ireland. Welcome, everybody. Well, this is a very strong topic, moving from outrage to courage, women and girls reclaiming their rights, because it really covers such a wide berth of area, you know, from things such as gender balance, ethnic cleansing, censorship of media, so many areas that really we have to look at, and obviously everybody's playing their own part. What I'd like to do is to invite each of you individually to share your thoughts on this particular subject matter and basically outline what it is that you are representing and what it is that you feel we can do for women to reclaim their rights. So I'd like to start with you, Dr. Christopher.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's truly an honor to be on this program with such distinguished panelists, co-panelists, presenters, and just listening to all of the uplifting testimony and the stories of leaders, women leaders who've gone through real life experiences and who are so generous to share with us on this International Day of the Girls. You know, to build on the last panel, when I listened to Marie-Christine talk about her courageous daughter and what she went through as a refugee, through all the trials and tribulations to being a success story today. In fact, I thought that she was talking about the chairman of our board of directors, the chairman of the board of directors of the National Democratic Institute that I represent on this panel today. Our chairperson, Madeleine Albright, grew up on refugee camps as a refugee herself, came to the United States and shattered the glass ceiling, the first woman ever to be Secretary of State of the United States of America. And so that's such a powerful story that reinforces what our honorable speakers have said about the fact that as girls and young women go through challenges in life, there is an inbuilt strength, resilience that develops, that promotes and strengthens their strive for success. And the rest of us have to look around and do everything that we can to provide them those openings and those opportunities. Obviously, the issue of girls' rights and women's rights are still being talked about today. Unfortunately, we're still talking about them, which means the issues have not been resolved. There is like a universal understanding that these issues are faced on all continents, even in established democracies, but more so on a continent such as ours in Africa, where the traditional barriers, the ordinary barriers that young girls and young women face are amplified or further solidified by societal norms that don't provide opportunities for them to blossom, especially in the political arena and as policymakers and decision makers. And because the world has become such a global village, it is really incumbent on all of us to work collectively to provide with those opportunities. And I think it's the kinds of opportunities for voice, for participation, and for accountability that organizations such as mine, the National Democratic Institute that works on political development issues, can focus on to see how at the grassroots level, within civil society, within professional associations, and even with regards to access to elective office, we can contribute to creating more opportunities for young girls and young women, and women as a whole, to have a powerful role to play. Let me just conclude in my opening remarks. I know we have to be brief. Let me just conclude by saying that part of this contribution has to be by telling the success stories, by recreating the narrative that people have about the role of women, and by projecting the positive stories of success. For example, that in today's world, globally, as the entire world grapples with the COVID-19 pandemic, the 8 countries that have best managed the response to COVID-19 across the globe, all 8 countries are ruled by women. Stories like that need to be told.
Absolutely. Thank you
They
so
need
much.
to be told.
Thank you so much. Very, very valid and very true. I'd like to now introduce Ifra Ahmed, please. Would you like to say a few words, Ifra? We can't hear you.
Hi. Thank you so much for this amazing panel. Really listening the speech of other people, and you know how much people care about women's and girls' issues, and celebrating International Day of the Girls' Child. It means really a lot to me as an activist to fighting against a practice on female genital mutilation and child marriage. And really to be a part of this panel, it empowers me more to hear multinationalities around the world speaking on different experience of level of girls issues. I'm so pleased to be part of it. My activities or my campaign is between Ireland and Somalia, and I'm fighting against practice of female genital mutilation. And Somalia is practiced on FGM 98%. But for me, as an Irish citizen, I decided to go back to Somalia and fight for the cause. And you know, people like you and all these powerful people who are here are people who can make a difference. To use their voices to raise awareness, any form of gender-based violence of against young girls and you know women. So I'm really pleased to be here, and what I can say is that everything has already been said because I been this meeting been on all day. But I'm pleased to be part of the World Summit for Women and Girls, and I just said, you know, me as activists return to Somalia, we are doing a lot of work in terms of protecting girls and women, especially young girls, protecting from female genital mutilation. And I am a fond of IFRA Foundation, and that's my foundation goes back home and raising awareness. And we actually work a lot with the community and fighting for protection. So I think I will end there because people have listened a lot already and been hearing all these issues. I really thank for Justina Mori Foundation hosting this amazing event, and it would be great. You know, I hope a lot of people will share on social media and learn so much. I'm so pleased to hear more about what people are saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ifra. Thanks for sharing. Very important work. And now I'd like to invite Kay Riga from the Philippines to say a few words.
Hi. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. And hi, Gloria, again. It's nice to see you here again. So, when we hear or when we talk about human rights, one of the main causes immediately is gender equality. You know, it's a huge issue. Like years before, decades, even centuries, even women didn't have a voice. Like their voice was suppressed. And good thing is that there has been progress over the last decades. Like more girls are going to school, more women are holding political positions, like top executive positions in companies, and fewer girls in early marriage. More women are serving in politics and positions of leadership. And there are also some laws now that are being reformed to advance gender equality. So this is a good thing. And there's going to be a lot of discussions when we talk about gender equality. But as a conclusion, I just want to say that I dream of a future where there is like equal access to opportunities, resources, and rights, regardless of gender.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you. I'd like to invite Jason to say some words. Is Jason here? Jason is trying to connect, I think. So while we're waiting for Jason, I'd like to invite Manaswini to please say some words.
Hello, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Justina Newton Foundation to invite me. I am really grateful for this opportunity. I had an amazing time listening to Her Excellency Queen Sheba, Mary Christine. It was really inspiring, and I really look up to this woman now. Well, talking about human rights, I feel like there is massive human rights violation against women throughout the world. And 2020 in particularly has been quite hard for women due to the pandemic, as they've been facing the effects of the pandemic more disproportionately due to various issues such as women being in the frontline workers, as the majority of nurses are all women. The number of domestic violence cases has increased, not just in my own country, India, but I've seen there has been a similar trend even the most developed countries. I feel like there has this constant degradation against women has just become worse in this whole year. And I feel this whole uh, this whole treatment of women just starts innocuously, not just at it starts from like their private spaces at their home, and slowly permeates to the public spheres. And I'm so glad that all of this is being discussed at a global stage here, and we're all from different countries. We are sharing our own perspectives, and I'm really looking forward to listening to all of the panelists. But as Kay also said, like, we also have to realize that women are not victims here. There has also been an increase in the education of women. Like you said, women are holding more political positions. Like Dr. Chris also said that all the countries who have been performing really well in this year have all been headed by women. So there's obviously the future is not dark. There are some positive things to look forward to, and I'm
Yes.
so glad it's being discussed. So I look
Thank you
forward to
so
the
much.
discussion.
Thank you, Manaswini. Thank you so much. And I'd now like to invite Princess Pamela to share some words.
Thank you so much. A beautiful day to everybody out there. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can
you hear
hear
me?
you. We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful day to you all. It's a privilege to be part of this. I will touch on my home country, Nigeria. Now, across the world, women juggle work with family and societal responsibilities, and Nigeria is no exception. From rape cases to disappearance of thousands of girls to child prostitution, female genital mutilation, poverty, starvation, destruction of businesses worth millions in investments, Nigerian women and girls face different challenges with significant gender disparity. Now, a large number of women flee their countries because of human rights abuses. It is often a personal and emotional struggle. Their stories are different, their circumstances are different, but all these women are usually linked by something. About 15 years ago, I interviewed African women living here in Ireland on behalf of the African Women's Network, and I documented their story in a book called Her Story. Her story shares true life migration experiences of African women living in Ireland. It was published by Akidwa, the African Women's Network at that time, but now it's the Migrant Women's Network. So I just want to share a short paragraph of this story of a lady from Nigeria. And these are, I mean, just to highlight some of the reasons why women flee their countries for greener pastures. So I will. This is her story actually, and that's the book. I will be reading. It's very tiny chapter from a very tiny paragraph from chapter 10.
I'll start. A bulldozer moved into action, raising its dreadful jaw. Moji watched as her shop was being demolished. She watched as it reduced to rubble, a business she had spent a fortune to build. She watched as her only source of income, her last hope, and all she depended on was being crushed. Moji was reduced to a nervous wreck. Years of investment and struggle went down the drain in one day. End. Now, Moji's story in the 90s in Nigeria is one of those that actually helped in shaping the lives of Nigerian women today in terms of claiming their rights. In the 90s, there were agitation that the Nigerian government needed to show commitment to the rights of women in Nigeria by passing relevant laws and allocating funds to women's rights. At that time, women were just coming out of the dark. And there were a few NGOs and human rights bodies just springing up. So the Nigerian CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women coalition, was formed in May 1998 as a national network of over 50 registered Nigerian NGOs across the country and working on women's human rights. So,
sorry, a little bit short, otherwise the time will go by very quickly because we've got a very limited time frame. So if you could just make it slightly briefer, thank you.
Okay, so in conclusion, I'll just say that the United Nations International Day Girl this year's theme, My Voice, Our Equal Future, reminds us that we all benefit when girls and women have opportunities they need to reach their full potentials. It also recognizes that there is work still to be done to achieve gender equality and to advance their empowerment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Princess Pamela. Thank you. And I think I just saw Jason a second ago. He keeps popping in and out, so I'm not quite sure if he's around. I think we'll just have to continue. Everything that you have all shared is very profound. You're all different genders, different age groups, different backgrounds, and of course all the work that you're doing is very eclectic, but collectively that makes that shift. So there are a couple of questions that I'd like to put out to the panel generally, and of course if we could just keep the answers brief, that would be great, because we're going to be taking some questions from the public as well. One is, how can we, I mean, it's wonderful to see Dr. Chris here. How can we, as women, help to recruit more men to come on board to actually support this cause? Because obviously it's a very important cause, and, you know, we're talking about reclaiming our rights and things. We've moved into a very, very dynamic age where we have a lot of technology available, so we can share on social media platforms, we can do summits like this, but of course it's around women. How can we encourage men to become more proactive? What are your suggestions? And I'll just put this out to the panel for anyone to. Chris, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. That's an excellent question, because we need to redefine the platforms of policy making, of decision making, so that we can take out of the mindset of some of the men that run these positions the concept that power or decision making is a zero-sum game, that if they give any ground to women leaders, then they're losing something. We have to work on them to transform their thinking, to realize that it's a question of building synergies so that we can capture all of the positive synergies in our society to contribute to decision making. And so that may entail some training, masculinity, to train some of the men to drop some of their old habits. That may also entail building alliances with other like-minded actors, and extracting commitments from men while they're in the pre-election phase. So before they get elected into office, how can we build strong alliances and extract commitments from them that once elected, they will work on the issues that we care about, which entail providing genuine opportunities for women and young girls?
How easy is this? I mean, that's a great answer. Of course, that's what we want. And we would like to hope that people will take that step. But as we've seen, it's not easy. I mean, what can we do to really ensure that we have this kind of result? You know, how much more can we be proactive apart from maybe people just making commitments? Are there other things that we can do individually?
I would like to think that as women, we have to extend our hands ourselves to the men, and we have to make them realize that the patriarchal system does not affect only women, but it also affects men in ways that they don't understand themselves, such as the whole idea of toxic masculinity or toxic gender roles, which puts undue pressure on men as well to perform up to the gender roles that are prescribed to them by the society. And women's emancipation cannot just come from women. We have to realize that men are our allies as well. And only, as Professor Chris said, there has to be synergies between men and women in a way which can help towards gender equality.
Yes.
And as long as we educate men and women equally, they will be able to understand and help towards our movement.
Thank you. Just one more answer if somebody wants to share on that question. Kay, did I see you put your hand up? No?
I just wanted to
it. What's the question?
Carry on. Ifra?
No, I just wanted to add this. I think, like, for example, if I talk about an African countries, I would say that if women are given equal right on political participation and leadership, in that way, man can be part of the solution. But if women are actually undermined, it means that we will never get the point where women will make a decision, and that is why most African countries, women's subjected in different type of gender violence and sexual violence.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. I'm just going to move on to another question now, which in fact is pretty similar. It's interesting that we've got a sort of the younger generation here on this panel as well. I mean, different generations. And I'm just wondering what we can also do proactively to encourage more younger people to take this issue up and to support it. And what kind of initiatives do you believe that we can take? Not just individually, but also collectively, so that we're combining our information together, and therefore it feels like a central network rather than separate areas working just for those areas. I feel that perhaps there needs to be more crossover and more intercommunication. What can we do to perhaps inspire younger people to get involved in this way? Anyone would like to answer that?
Since you mentioned the younger generation, I feel like I may have a comment on it. I feel social media has a really strong role to play in helping men, women in this fight towards gender equality. So spreading awareness and positivity through social media, through various awareness campaigns can help. But in addition to them, even our educational institutions have a major role here to educate both men and women, teach them about the issues that are faced by women, teach them about societal pressure, societal conditioning. Unless the children and people are taught about the problems that are faced by women, they will never be able to sympathize with the issues. So I feel not just social media, not just our educational institutions, but even the society and we as individuals also have a major role to play here.
Yes, absolutely. Chris, please go ahead.
Yes, I think our excellent contribution there. I'll just add 2 points. One is that for those of us who have connections within the entertainment industry, we should be looking at that industry and others that are attractive to the younger generation and see how we can start impacting the content of products from that industry to captivate the interest of young people. For example, Nigeria, and Princess is on the panel, so she may speak to this, but Nollywood is a very popular entertainment industry in Nigeria. Could they be coming up with sequences or serial shows that project young women leaders, Madam Speaker, Madam President, so that society, as imbibed that culture, can also take in the fact that those roles can actually be played by women as well. And then the second point is just with regards to technology, because new technology is changing the face of the earth. It's changing the way that people communicate, that people mobilize, that people organize, that people get out the vote and mobilize voters. And this is an asset that the younger generation masters more than everyone else. And they can really put that to use to their advantage. And we should encourage them to not only use it for social interactions, but also to use it for advocacy to strengthen their case and their power in today's 21st century.
Thank you very much, Chris. What you said is very, very valid. You know, another interesting thing is that we do live in environments where we are trying to sort of localize things and work on them on a grassroots level. But what are our feelings about governments who are making decisions? And I know this is probably it's a strong question, but I think it has to be addressed. There's a number of countries that are very large violators of human rights, just generally. But of course, there's a lot of focus on women. For instance, I won't name countries, but I think everybody knows them, you know, where they hold women in jail for because of their own country's media censorship policies and things like that. What can we do to protect sort of freedom of speech? Because I have been very touched by Nelson Mandela's one statement where he said to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. And I think that sort of summarized everything. But what are our feelings about sort of approaching governments to really weed out other countries who are not really playing by the books, but putting themselves forward in a lot of other ways? And what can we do about that? Can you hear? Yes. Anybody would like to answer that question?
Maybe if you repeat the question, I think maybe some of us we might not hear it because we all kind of look like we didn't hear it.
How can we basically within our fields, how can we have more voice towards countries that are not honouring these human rights? You know, we're all working on localized levels, but it's very, very big. And a lot of these countries are out there sort of saying that they are making decisions and doing lots of good work, but we know that they're not. What are your thoughts on that, and what more can we do?
If I take example as a Somalia, you know, the journalist has been killed recently, you know, and because of freedom of speech and all that kind of things. And if you look on the civil society, they cannot actually advocate openly because of reason of being Al-Shabaab or sort of things. But I think for us to protect the human rights, freedom of speech, we have to get the ownership of the leaders to commit and the human rights. For example, now Somalia, they are sitting on the United Nations human rights, and I think that in this case, we use in the voice of saying that Somalia now they are actually violate the right of women and right of the journalists and the freedom of speech. Plus, there is a lot of rape going around and also killing. Young girls are being raped and being killed. So I think how we can get it's basically we should get the ownership of our leaders. In that way, we can protect the freedom of speech and also women's rights. But at the moment, how I see my own country is human rights are violated. Is there female genital mutilation? Is there freedom of speech? Is actually journalists have been killed. So I think it has to come within our leaders to adapt on that.
Thank you so much. Oh, we've got Jason, Dr. Jason here. Finally, Dr. Jason, thank you and welcome to the panel. You don't have the opportunity to say your thoughts really on the subject matter of the actual panel. We'd really like to invite you to share for a couple of minutes.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to wherever you find yourself in the time zone. I want to thank Her Excellency Dr. Justina Matillo for convening such an auspicious and propitious event, and lining us up amongst these distinguished group of panelists. And this day is very timely. Now it's the World Summit. It's the World Summit on girls, women and girls. And so if we can remember in 1995 at the summit, in Beijing on women, countries unanimously moved to adopt the platform, the resolution to make women rights more practical, to make it more achievable, and that was unanimous, and there was a reason for that, where the declaration and platform for action was unanimously supported by countries. Now, if we look at I think if we fast forward to 2011, I think the 19th of December, we had the United Nations General Secretary making General Assembly, taking a very bold move with making the International Day of the Girl Child, global, and we are able to not only women but global. So this resolution was for women and girls and women, and it's human rights. It's human rights, and we're talking about human rights, but we have to understand that not only women were the focus, girls. And so we do have some stats to look at. I'm not sure how far we've gone in the conversation because I've joined, but this is something that must be global in nature. All global agencies must be a part of this conversation because it has to be addressed systemically. It has to be addressed governmentally, systemically, institutionally, for us to be able to have to sustain this comprehensive dialogue and initiative, particularly against the backdrop of the SDGs, Goal 5, equal opportunity for gender across the board. So I'm going to yield back to you, and then we can go into discussion. I'm not sure the nature and name of how we're flowing, because I joined you all late, but nonetheless, it's a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jason. In fact, you basically crystallized what I was asking in the previous question was, how can we all work and network together, from our own small arenas to create something global where people are sharing information. For instance, probably you're not aware of what's going on in the Dr. Ifra's arena. And of course, maybe you don't know what's going on in gender balance in someone else's country. So how can we all work together and find solutions together, which then could be posed to world governments, really, rather than just taking small issues or localized issues putting it under a banner and trying to push for those. There has to be probably a bigger voice. And I'm just wondering whether you're resonant with that, and whether or not, there's a way to actually take that idea forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have got to first and foremost, this Her Excellency Dr. Justina, and this platform is very important. We start conversations here, but what we do, we look for propitious opportunities at the United Nations level. We start at the grassroots, but we have to collaborate with people who understand policy, how it works, understand the art of negotiation, people who understand how to move the narrative forward, citing stats, looking at real-time events. So we got to look at global organizations. No longer can we stay in our, own our comfort zone, starting with the United Nations General Assembly. Whenever there is General Assembly, a segment targeted to women, raising awareness, really re-evaluating and renewing that social contract that was adopted by resolution in 2011. I think resolution 66-170, if I'm not mistaken. We moved from the United Nations to the European Union. We find where we look for a window, and we go into the European Union and we begin to engage government, world leaders, because this is systemic. And so if you're able to get governmental leaders to involve in the conversation, it's easier for policies to be changed. We look at the African Union. We look for a time, a propitious time, an opportunity where we engage the African Union in dialogue. We move from the African Union as well to CARICOM. So all of these global governmental agencies that are poised now to embrace this conversation, we not lobby, but we engage in dialogue, so to speak, and we bring the stats. Now, it's very glaring, very, very glaring that this is sourced from the United Nations, that one in four girls, as opposed to 1 in 4 girls aged 14 to 19, as opposed to 1 in 10 boys, don't have the employment, education, and training necessary. We have that. Then we look at women that are occupying, women are making 23% less than men globally. So, we look at women occupy only 24% of parliamentary seats globally. We look at 435 million by 2021 women and girls will be living on less than $1.90 a day. 47 million of which will be forced into poverty because of COVID. We look at 60% of the girl child, having difficulty at the legal level, judicial level in countries, 60% of the girl child in terms of inheritance, whether it's land or non-land asset. So we have a real systemic problem. And I often say there can't be no achievement of sustainable goals, the SDGs, particularly goal 5, given this conversation today, if there is no sustainable thinking or policies to back this. So we got to engage in dialogue. We got to educate. We got to raise awareness. And if you see something, say something, against the backdrop of empirical facts and systemic social ills that are still prevalent to prevent the girl and the woman from occupying their rightful place in society across the globe.
Thank you, Dr. Jason. Very powerful. You're absolutely right. It's systemic. Communication, more communication is needed. I mean, I sometimes question with issues like that, we look at the news, we read newspapers, journals, things, but, most of the news is not really concerned with a lot of these issues. Probably have to read women's magazines or very, very particular sort of genre magazines to kind of get updates on this. Or if you're surfing on the internet, I'm just wondering how we can bring these issues more into education from a younger age, so that you have representatives from different countries going and talking about exactly what's happening, so that younger people are aware of that, and so that we're slowly changing the next generation's thought patterns, which is where it's going to start. Ultimately, that's where change will truly emerge, is my belief system. I don't know if everybody feels the same way.
Yeah, I want to say something about that. When it comes to dissemination of information or raising more awareness on these rights or these issues, I think we should use our connections. Like, for example, we have like other networks, other women organizations or other humanitarian organizations where we have like global members. We should reach out to them and initiate collaborations, potential collaborations. So because sometimes we start little, but then when other people see it, they get inspired by it, and then they join it or start their own, and then it gets bigger and bigger that way. Sometimes it just takes some people, like 3 people, to start something, to initiate something, and then the rest, more people would follow through and join in.
Absolutely. In fact, let me ask you, I mean, might sound very sort of revolutionary, but what if I was to pose the question that every wonderful person here on this panel who's doing such remarkable work and really making a difference in the world in such a wide arena. I mean, this is a wide arena, although it's a single title. What if you all were to collaborate after this summit and see how you could all actually facilitate each other? I mean, that's just 6 people, 5 or 6 people on this panel, or 7. I think Her Majesty's not on it, so let's say there's 5 of you on here. What if you were to all collaborate together, or to talk about how you could facilitate each other? Is that something that you would think about?
Yes, I would jump in and say, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. We can like connect with each other, and then let's see what we can do, how we can collaborate. Like we have 2, 4, 5, 6 countries here. We can start from there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's sorry. I think it's a very good idea, and we must continue to amplify our voices as women, and we get collaboration from gentlemen like this. It would be nice. As a media person, I believe that I should always report stories. I should report as much stories as I can. And for every new story I make, I must break the silence. So it's a good idea for us to get people to collaborate together, because there's a lot out there that we need to get out there. And the more we get it out there, the more the awareness.
Exactly. Because, some people are very good within this field. They're good vocalists. Other people are good at writing. Other people are good at the stats. Other people are good at actually the legal side of things. But all of those things make up. Yes, please. Ifra, what would you like to say?
What I want to say is that as a FGM activist, FGM is female genital mutilation. I would say that we have doctors here, and I think that we need African doctors to come on board and also become advocates of female genital mutilation. And also, we asking the European doctors to go to Africa and do some, surgery like Fiscal, and also reopening women who've been cut badly. So I'm asking the African doctors to join our campaign and become the voice for us, and taking their talent is back in Africa and do the work. I think it will make a difference.
Absolutely, it will.
Absolutely. Might I just quickly say something?
Sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to echo that and say it's a wonderful appeal, and we support that 100%. And that also just reinforces the point about building alliances and finding other people who can also be advocates for the same cause. So, for example, if we have to engage the African Union, look at the governments that are already on our side, that are proactive and progressive on these issues, and let's lean on them to do some more. For example, Rwanda has a good track record on women's representation in legislative office. Can we lean on the government of Rwanda to have an ambassador for women and girls issues that can go speak to other African leaders who may be more willing to sit down on a bilateral basis with another African government than would they be willing to open their doors to civil society advocates or advocacy civil society civic leaders. So let's be creative about this, but look for avenues, because I think the sensitization is going strong, but we need to break that glass ceiling and go, as the topic of our panel indicates, from complaining to real actions and consolidation of accomplishments. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Exactly. Because people, we can talk forever, but it's about, well, what can we do? What are the solutions? And, you know, the concept of reclaiming magnificent. But, you know, we have to bear in mind that many of the women who are suffering may not have that personal power because they've been treated by it. Just psychologically, they might not be feeling good either. So, you know, what can we do in many different areas to help them? It's not coming in from one angle, is it? There's so many components to aid. Dr. Jason, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, echoing Chris, Dr. Chris, you were so succinct with your response. I'm going to piggyback on that and maybe pull all our thoughts together. I think we're saying the same thing. We're the same things. We're coming to. We are saying the same things, but in different ways. And one of the things Dr. Chris just talk about is having a targeted approach to the African Union and identifying someone, because when we look identifying someone who will be an ambassador to the region and maybe even to the globe on behalf of women and girls' rights. Because when we look at the stats are on the books. 200 million girls and women, they suffer from genital mutilation to date. And so the time is now. We cannot wait. We have to come up with a concerted, creative, practical, targeted approach. Go with one voice, a comprehensive approach, one voice to the AU. Because we know the UN is on board, to the AU. Have a strategy, have someone nominated, maybe like Dr. Chris just spoke about, to engage in dialogue. Because what we're doing is to really come forth with a comprehensive but yet practical approach. And then maybe a commission, have lobby for a commission to be established that now deals with the spin-off psychological effects from this mutilation, because we're dealing with mental health, we're dealing with women's mental health, we're dealing with self-esteem, we're dealing with psychosocial distortions, we're dealing with economic empowerment, we're dealing with the inner self, we're dealing with education, training, life skills, just basic life skills. So it's a very comprehensive approach, and we've got to be able to take it from this perspective.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, now we're going to have
and I feel like there are already a lot of dedicated forums and platforms working towards it, and they're doing amazing work. But the question that we need to ask is, why are we still not seeing the results? I mean, what we really need to realize is, we can only, as representatives of women and people, we can only speak till one point, and after that we really need to pass the mic to the people who actually need to speak. Like, we need to hear it directly from them on what they need from us, from policymakers, from their government, so we can know about their issues.
Thank you so much. All of this conversation is just like we could talk for hours, but unfortunately we're going to have to come to the end of this panel discussion with all your wonderful sharing. Thank you so much for all being part of it. And by the same token, I do hope that you will all connect via Justina and work out ways to, maybe take it forward, because it is very multi-leveled, as we know. So have a good rest of the conference or the summit, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Hello, welcome back, everyone. I have really enjoyed the human rights session this afternoon. I must say it was a truly international panel representing at least 4 time zones. You have seen that. And covering 4 regions of the world, multi-generational, and of course, a variety of experiences, and quite well gender balanced. I hope you have enjoyed it and that you have taken great lessons from it and that you have learned a great deal from it. Now, ladies and gents, up next, we have something very exciting for you. You may have seen some light marketing so far about the book launch of Dr. Justina Mutale on the art of iconic leadership, the power secrets of female world leaders. So today you are going to witness the official launch of the book. So with me in a moment, Dr. Justina Mutale is going to join together with Mindy Gibbons-Klein, who is the founder of Panorama Press and the book Midwife. Hello, Mindy.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. So we are waiting for Dr. Justina to join us so we can kickstart about the book. Have you been watching us so far?
I have. I was just watching the panel, and every session, I bet you wish it could go on forever, but it can't. I mean, the work goes on forever, but the sessions have to continue. So I'm very happy to be here for the book launch session. Thank you very much for the invitation. Hi, Justina.
Hi, Justina.
Hi, Mindy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Mindy. Thank you.
So welcome, Mindy, and welcome, Dr. Justina. As I said, we are here to officiate the book launch of the Art of Iconic Leadership, Power Secrets of Female World Leaders, book written by Her Excellency, Dr. Justina Mutale. I would like to call upon Mindy Gibbons-Klein to share a few words about the book.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And let me say it's my pleasure to be here at this global summit. And we truly have a global reach and fantastic cooperation and involvement from people from so many places. So it's really my pleasure and honor to be here. So at Panorama Press, I have to show you our actual latest, it's not even the latest catalog, because we're at Frankfurt Book Fair this week, believe it or not. And I've taken time out of the book fair diary to come and be here because this is so important. It's always exciting when we have a launch or a pre-launch during a book fair. So I say I'm at Frankfurt, it's virtual. So like many people, I'm attending virtually. Let me take a few steps back and just chat with people about the importance of books, and in particular, the importance of inspirational books. So I know that many people speaking today and many people watching us around the world are book lovers. So I know that it's no surprise that books are my favorite way for learning and inspiration and entertainment and so many things, because we all know what a book is. We know how much information and inspiration you can pack inside it. So, blogs are great. and posts on social media are great, and every other medium of getting your information across. But a book, we know how much went into it, and we know how much can be packed into it. So I'm delighted to run a publishing company. Oh, I'm not sure everybody saw our strap line, so I'll put it right here. It says Books That Change Lives. We created this branding in 2012 when we rebranded, and Panoma Press is about to be 15 years old, and we have over 200 business books and personal development books in the catalog today. So why business and personal development? Well, I love reading. I love reading every kind of book, but I really think there is a need for more education, inspiration, and learning, and not only entertainment. So books, fiction, there's the book industry is completely dominated by fiction. 8 out of every 10 books are novels, which is lovely, you know, creativity, imagination. I wrote a novel myself. But especially now in these challenging times, people need advice. They need to read something where they can learn and grow and think bigger. And let me just shut my emails off. I'm really always encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone and be inspired and learn something new. And I know Justina is as well. So for me, this is the absolute pinnacle of the reason why I started this company and the reason why I still passionately believe in it. It's the books that change lives that's important. We've been talking all day about change that's needed. And what I see is people can make their individual change, and then collectively we can create great change. And when you get a book in someone's hands and they're reading it, it's very much a personal, intimate experience. Nobody reads books in a group. It's not like sitting in a lecture theater or watching this summit or anything. It's a one-to-one experience with the reader and the author. And that is a chance to touch lives one at a time. So this is what I love about it. And I'll tell you my favorite kinds of books. They're written by people who know their stuff, but they're humble. They know they're an absolute experts in their field, but they don't spend the whole book saying, look at me, I'm an expert, aren't I great? And, you know, because nobody would want to read that. I'm sure a lot of people watching me now have seen a book or read a book and they thought, oh, for goodness sakes, if the author's ego would just go out of the room, I could enjoy myself a bit more and learn something. You don't need to be that way. One of my favorite role models of all time is Annie Sullivan. Now, if you don't know who she is, don't all shout at once and don't put the answer in the chat. I'll get back to that in a minute. What Dr. Justina has done is showcase and highlight and celebrate many, many female leaders from across the globe throughout history, and teaching the lessons and things that people can use. So young women and girls can actually have some real role models, women who've become global leaders, who are heads of state, who have done tremendous things, and they serve as role models for the next generation. It's incredible the number of female leaders who have been put into this lovely book, comprehensive book, but the sheer quantity of inspiration and the quantity of leaders that you can read about and get inspired by. I do a lot of speaking in schools, girls' schools particularly. And what I love about it is they're so receptive and they're so keen and open and wanting to learn. And they really just want great people to follow. So this book has so many stories, so much inspiration. I know the people who I know who've already read the early copies, they have been inspired, and it's unbelievable. So anyway, I could go on and on, but I promised to tell you about one of my favorite role models, second to Dr. Justina, of course, but the Annie Sullivan story really speaks to me. So if you don't know her, you may have heard about Helen Keller, I hope. Helen Keller, you know, tremendous influence, tremendous, fantastic, inspirational woman who achieved so much, not being able to see or speak or hear, and manage not only to figure things out, but to become a public speaker and a real inspiration, and set up so many things that, we think we have challenges. Well, Annie Sullivan, she was the one behind the scenes. She was Helen Keller's teacher. And I think I use Annie Sullivan as my role model every single day, because I'm willing to be in the spotlight for things that are important. I'm willing to speak and speak out. I'm willing to write, and I do my work, but my best work is about showcasing others. And that's why I'm so delighted to be here and to be bringing this book written by this inspirational leader to the world. And the way she's gone about it is by showcasing others. So there's a lovely thread that runs through the whole thing. So I wish there was a ribbon here. I don't know if she has a cup. Oh, here we go. I was just going to say, where is the book? This is so exciting, because I haven't even received my first copy in the post yet. This is how new it is. It's being released officially on December 10th, but there are at least 2 places where people can get a copy. They can get a copy from Justina and the Justina Mutelli Foundation, or they can go on Amazon, and in most regions, it's already showing up, The Art of Iconic Leadership. If they want to get it a bit earlier, get it sent to their house, or if they live in London, they can get it, and they can get it straight from Justina and the foundation. So it's my pleasure. I'm just going to have to cut an imaginary ribbon here. This is the first time I've done lots of things virtually, but we're all learning here. So congratulations. Here's a virtual glass of champagne as well. And I will hand it over to the lady of the hour, because I know she has a few words about the book. So over to you, Justina.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mindy. And thank you, everyone else, everybody that has joined us from across the globe to come and listen to us at this summit. And I thank all the speakers that have spoken before and those that are yet to come, all the world leaders that have graced our occasion. And talking about the book launch, I'd like to thank Mindy and her team, who are my official publishers of the book. I think nobody made that apparent, that Panoma Press are my publishers who have gracefully published this book on my behalf. Now, I've always told the story about how I come from a background of very powerful, assertive, strong women. And coming into the world, I grew up then believing that women were the backbone of society. They were the natural born leaders, that women had the power to shape the world and the direction of the world. But as I grew older, then I got into a few shocks to find that there was this thing called a fight for gender equality. Because as far as I can remember, for example, from my mother's part of the family, a woman rules the kingdom. And also women, when they are born, they are always given their own feminine name. So a girl child in my mother's family does not use her father's name. She doesn't even use her husband's name when she gets married. The name she's given at birth, a feminine name as a woman, is the name she carries throughout her life until she dies, which gives women a lot of ownership of their self, ownership not to walk in the shadows of anybody else. And also from my father's side, of course, it's patriarchal, but it didn't, those that are from Zambia will understand this. It did not deter one woman, one very assertive, strong woman, to stand up and start this very strong movement that shook the political foundations of the country. So those are some of the women that I grew up with. And of course, my mother was a very strong woman. Like I said, she came from these women that owned themselves. And coming out into the world and finding myself in the fight for gender equality and wondering what went wrong somewhere along this line. And also hearing all these stories of all the time saying that young women and girls have got no role models. As I was growing up as well, of course, I identified and saw role models, women role models, even from reading history books. For example, women that stood out to me, Catherine the Great, the things that she did, which I have put her in my book. Cleopatra, a lot of people know Cleopatra from the theoretical or dramatic kind of stuff where they think she had 2 men with her, but she was actually a leader. She was one of the female pharaohs of Egypt, and she was one of the most powerful ones, and she extended the territory during her reign. So these are some of the stories that people don't know. They are up to now. I remember speaking at an event where I found that a lot of women who claim to be in the fight for gender equality didn't know that in the Muslim world have already had a female president, Benazir Bhutto. She was a beautiful, elegant woman, very charismatic, and she knew what she was doing politically. And a lot of people didn't know about her. So, you know, we go to Indira Gandhi and of course, Margaret Thatcher. There are a number of things that people didn't agree with what she did. But for me, what inspired me, first of all, she was the first ever female prime minister of the United Kingdom, and you know how patriarchal the United Kingdom is, and that is a feat, an iconic feat in itself. And also the way she believed in the way she led the country. It was her way or no way. So she was firm in what she believed in, and I think that is a strong thing in leadership. So I have all of these things. Then we move on ahead, and we find people like Hillary Clinton. Even though she never became president, she was, of course, she was a first lady, which was a great, a lot of leadership involved in there. She went on to become Secretary of State, a lot of hard work. And of course, she became the most formidable presidential candidate, female presidential candidate in the United States. So there are all these people that some of our young people have never heard of or have never even read about. And then we go to the millennials, people like Jacinda Ardern, the things they have done. And everybody's talking about the coronavirus, how it has been handled, how the best countries that have handled that are led by women. Then we move on to, to the presidential race in the US. We've got Kamala Harris becoming, things like that. So I just decided to compile these stories of these powerful, iconic women, each one iconic in the way that they led, in fact, most of them were like the first ever ones. Of course, I include Emmeline Pankhurst, the one who led the suffragette movement in the UK. And of course, Florence Nightingale for the iconic work that she did. And we have Mother Teresa and all of those. But the bulk of it are all women in political leadership. And I look at how they handled the gender side of things, the politics, the geopolitics, the leadership, and the strategies that they used. And I put it in all there to show, for me, this is a gift. It is my gift to the girl child, the young women and girls, to the next generation woman, to understand that it is possible for them to lead. They can be like these women, that women before them have done it, so that they too can also be able to do it. So this is what this book is all about.
Wow. Incredible. Wow. Incredible. Well, first of all, I want to say, Mindy, that, when you were talking, your emotions didn't lie. I could feel your true, genuine passion. And of course, Dr. Mutale, I could go on until next week listening to you. And I just want to come back to make a comment. I am a book lover, Mindy, by the way, because I lately realized that it has been my best companion to development and personal growth. And also on this book, I've been one of the very few privileged to pre-read it. And today I would like to share my insights on the book, what I loved about it, and what was my key takeaways. First of all, I want to say that the book is a masterpiece because it offers a holistic understanding. Are we there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that the book is a masterpiece because it offers a holistic understanding of geopolitics, strategy, gender, and development, and all other key tactics that actually has always shaped, continue to shape, and will always influence the world that we live in today. And I want to say that I am a graduate in international relations, and I did my master's in public administration. Now, having studied those subjects, the book has actually opened my eyes, but also showed me how the different pieces interrelate. Like, you know, what's the correlation between power and influence in the playing field? Like, it was like being able to visualize how the different elements of a very complex puzzle complete the masterpiece in a very simple way. In addition, I have learned more, and I'm being really honest, I've learned more about the contributions of powerful women like the one Dr. Mutale cited in shaping politics, countries, nations, continents at very critical times in history. And I remember somewhere in the book there was the mention about the Empress of Russia that I've never heard of or learned in any other history book in school anywhere. So those are the first key takeaways that I wanted to share. And also I want to add how timely the book is. Like, the book is current, it's up to date and accurate and relevant to the world that we live in today. We have seen how, you know, women, or the countries that were led by women, how they managed the COVID. And until today, we can see how those countries are doing compared to other countries that are being led by by men. But today we're not talking about competition. So was this as a result of soft power? I recall earlier on today, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurub Fakim, the first female president of Mauritius, she kept on reiterating about the importance of soft power and emotional intelligence, which is something that women tend to have more than men. And so the message that I got from the book is that it basically points us in the direction of developing and harnessing the power of soft skills, which comes in multiple formats, basically, including the power of emotional intelligence. Now, all of the great women that were cited in this book, none of them had like a large military power, nor any other types of resources as we see today. They all had one thing in common, and that was the superior soft power ability, which we all possess. All women, every single girl, and every single woman or young boy, we all possess those skills. So if they did do what they did, so it means we certainly can learn, because it is a skill that can be learned and acquired. So we see this example today in the diplomatic world. We find that the most effective tool in diplomacy is soft power. And this is something that I was taught when studying international relations. Through cultural diplomacy, the United Nations of America enjoys a global hegemony in the global society, because they are able to leverage the power of cultural diplomacy to seduce the world. So they're able to get everyone's buy-in towards them. And this book teaches us the same the same message, I want to say. So you would excuse me, I am Francophone and I tend to think a lot in French. Overall, Dr. Mutale said lately that the book is a gift to the next generation, and I want to back this up. The book is a gift to the next generation because, as I said, it's a timely book, it's a timeless book. It is the best companion to leadership journey for, I'm not going to be discriminative, for men, for women, for young boys, for young girls, for teachers, mothers, and fathers. I want to say that it should be in every house, in every school, in every library and university. And my call to action to everyone watching this show today is get your copy today. Get your copy today. And I'm going to do something. I will be... Okay, I've lost everyone. Are we there?
The book is showing up, so you can talk.
So I wanted to do like a little prize. So the first 10 people, actually, I'm not going to say the first 10 people, but the people who will get their books today, I will select 10 people, and we will do, they will be specially interviewed by me sharing their insights on the book for my next series on the Minute Factor with Fatoumata Diallo coming up very soon. So get your copy today. Those are the words that I wanted to share about the book. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you. And can I add a request, because it is very difficult to promote yourself. And thank you so much for that wonderful summary that it blew my mind into every single aspect of the book and who it's for and the value. And, you know, we're going to capture your video as well. Apologies, I got so excited I just dropped my phone. So what I want to stress is everybody who is going to be getting the book, everybody who's listening and watching now or to the replays, please spread the word. So yes, get a copy for yourself, but more importantly, get some copies for the young people in your life. Get something, you know, Christmas is coming, the holidays are coming. So order many, many copies and please post about it. And when you've read your book and you love it, please review it on Amazon and Goodreads and LinkedIn and everywhere, because this is how we build the buzz. There's that many silly books that get a lot of exposure and, you know, get to the top of the charts. Let's add this one as an important book that can also hit the bestseller list. I know it can. So thank you, everybody, for your help.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Justina.
Thank you
and I you know, as I said, it's always so interesting. Every time we get into a topic, we can never finish. We could go on until next month.
No,
Unfortunately, we're halfway through, and which is also exciting. So it means we've got more exciting content coming up. I would like to call my colleague Mita Joshi. I'm not sure whether she's on the backstage. No? Mita? Okay. Well, in that case, okay, there she is. Hello, Mita!
Hello, congratulations, Justina, on the official launch of the book.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Say bye, and we will see you in the bestseller charts, and we will be raising our glass of champagne for you all. All right.
I like your idea about the virtual champagne and virtual activity. Yeah, I've been yes, backstage. So Fatoumata, what are we going to do next now? Go for a break?
We are going for a break, and you can close this session. And I think we're coming back in an hour for the next session.